I'm Holly.
And I'm Bridget.
And this
is Girls Next Level.
Welcome back to Girls Next Level, everybody. Today we are talking about the bunny hunt episode of Girls Next Door. And before we get into it, I wanted to talk a little bit about the topic of nepotism. I wanted to call this episode Nepotism and Not Measuring Up, because we talk about, as we get into the episode, we talk about, do we think Playmates should have had to audition just like everybody else, or should they have been given an advantage? Should have former girlfriends have been given an advantage? And we see later that some people didn't get that advantage, but some people we think did get the nepotism advantage. So it's interesting. And I wanted to ask you, Bridget, what do you think about nepotism in general and nepotism babies and all that stuff?
Well, for me, because I don't have any of that, I feel like it's unfair advantage, of course. But then I also see people who you would think would have that, but it hasn't necessarily benefited them. So I'm like, how much does it really weigh into things? But I think for everybody, it's just different. And I think that if we're talking about the bunny hunt, it really did weigh in for some people.
I think so too. And I agree with you on the topic of nepotism. I think it gets you maybe 50% of the way there. Like, it helps you out, but then you have to like pull your weight, or it's not going to work out unless somebody's really fucking doing you favors. Like, I have friends who have been in the entertainment industry for years auditioning, and they're just so frustrated because they feel like nobody's being cast unless it's the son or daughter of somebody who's already famous.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly frustrating, but I can't completely hate on it either, because isn't that what we're all trying to do, is work really hard so our kids can have it a little bit easier than we did?
Yeah. And then with nepotism, like, where does it end? Like, is it because in like, I think everywhere you are, but especially in LA in the entertainment business, it's all about who you know. And so if you know people, like, you might not be the son or daughter of somebody, but if you know people who are producing or directing or, can work with this agency or that agency or whatever, then you have a leg up in a lot of things.
100%. And I know I've said this before on the pod, but I feel like even people who don't necessarily have like a lot of money or industry connections, but grew up in LA, they even have an advantage, especially back before social media, to somebody who like has to like pinch every penny to like move to LA and spend everything they have on rent and headshots and try to make it. And you have no support system there. You know what I mean?
100%. It makes a huge difference. Even just being from Northern California, trying to get to LA and trying to figure out how I was going to make that. And you have to be here. You have to be here to make it work. You really do. Unless you're already successful, then maybe you can live somewhere else and come back and forth. But to make it here from scratch, you have to be here.
100%. You have to like go to an audition at like a moment's notice sometimes.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It's not easy to come to LA on your own and have nothing.
And then there's also something that's very relevant to us in the show, and that's nepotism by dating. And it doesn't just apply to us. I always think of a good example as like maybe like 10 years ago, a lot of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover models, I noticed, the ones that they chose for the cover oftentimes were ones who were dating celebrities. Like, there was a model dating Cristiano Ronaldo or one dating Leonardo DiCaprio. And it's like, when there's so many beautiful girls in the world, what makes somebody stand out? Like, maybe they want to pick somebody with a story, and an interesting story could be a lot of things. But when you're trying to sell magazines, Leonardo DiCaprio's new girlfriend, like, that can sound pretty enticing, I think.
Right.
And of course, for us, I mean, we got a lot of things from dating Hef. And I feel like the next thing we're going to talk about, that kind of plays into it, because there are things that we had to like work and train for like everybody else and put the time and effort in. But because we were dating Hef, people assume that we did not. Mm-hmm. And then they like to make certain statements like, they didn't deserve to do that because they didn't put the work in. So the next thing I wanted to bring up, because it's very relevant to this episode and being a bunny and wearing the bunny costume, we actually recorded the rest of this episode where we get into the actual show before, and then we jumped on here to record this opener later, because as I was editing, I was looking for photos to send to Callie, who makes our social media clips that go along with this episode. And I was looking for certain pictures of women working as bunnies. And as I was searching for the photos, this article came up from just 2 years ago. And the headline was, I'd never seen it before, but the headline was, a former Playboy bunny says E's Girls Next Door show was, quote, very offensive to the iconic cocktail waitresses. And then she's quoted as saying in the headline, we earned those ears.
That comment is so offensive to me. The title is so offensive to me.
Yeah. And before we break down the article, I just wanted to say that the silliest thing to me about this whole thing is this woman's complaining about something that she truly doesn't know about. I think she looks at the show or whatever she's seen from it or whatever pictures she's seen of us in bunny costume and assumes that we were just given a bunny costume for no reason. And that's not true. You and I were tour guides at the mansion. That's why we were given the bunny costume. Pat Lacey didn't let anyone wear a bunny costume without teaching them the basic bunny etiquette. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but we had to memorize stacks of papers worth of information about everything at the mansion. We had to conduct ourselves a certain way. We had to learn where to make the funny jokes and what was appropriate and what was not. We volunteered our time to do those tours because we loved doing them. So we definitely earned it. And she just doesn't know that. So for me, it's like a big smack my head moment for her, I feel.
Well, it is embarrassing
and it's just
for her.
So rude.
But it doesn't make it any less offensive.
No, I agree. And another crazy thing is, I don't want to mention this woman's name because I'm not trying to start like a hate train toward her, and it's not really relevant what we're talking about, what her name is. But I will say she was a bunny in the 70s, and she was one of the main people in Secrets of Playboy. And that's another thing too, is I think people assume that the women of Secrets of Playboy would kind of have a bond and like be on each other's team. Nope. Not the case. And I just think it's so weird. And I'm acknowledging I'm a part of it, but I still think it's weird how much hatred is in the Playboy world from just women connected to Playboy. And that's not to say there's not pockets of really amazing friendships on all sides, but there's so many avenues of hate. Like if I were to draw a graph of like all the people who hate each other and why people that you'd think would be aligned hate each other, it's just all over the place. So I really enjoyed this woman's episodes of Secrets of Playboy. I thought she told a lot of really important stories. I thought she'd been through a lot. It seemed like the job she had as a bunny and a bunny mother, she did an amazing job at that. So I really liked her when I watched the show. I had no idea she thought I was such an embarrassment, but here we are. So let me read this article. A former Playboy bunny said E's reality show, The Girls Next Door, detracted from the image of the iconic cocktail waitresses.
I want to break it down like section by section because in what way? I mean, there wasn't even Playboy clubs anymore. In what way did it detract from the image of the iconic cocktail waitress?
I think maybe she feels like her and the people she worked with aren't getting the attention anymore, so it detracts. Like, I understand when somebody had this job that they feel like is a special experience and is unique to them, and you see somebody else doing it in a different way or a different version of it, you're like, oh, well, that's not how we did it in my day. I get it, but like, you don't have to be hateful. You know what I mean? It reminds me of like the sour supermodels. Do you remember that whole thing from a few years back?
No.
Okay, so a few years back, there was this whole new wave of like what you might call like the modern day supermodels, like the Kendall Jenners and the Gigi and Bella Hadids and people like that. And I think it was Stephanie Seymour or somebody who was a model back in the day was asked, like, would you call those women the supermodels of today? And she said something like, no, I think I'd call them bitches of the moment. And then Kendall Jenner got pissed and fired back. And then Tyra Banks was weighing in and saying, yeah, well, when we did it, we didn't have GPS and Uber. We were like dropped off in a foreign country for a job where we didn't speak the language and had a map. And yeah, that's valid. I get it. It's different and probably, harder to make it in some ways when you didn't have social media and stuff. But that's just kind of what it reminds me of, is people getting pissy because they perceive that the next generation has it easier.
But here's the thing. The Playboy clubs did not exist anymore.
No, they closed when I was like 5 or 6. So I didn't have a chance to train as a cocktail waitress.
Right. So there was no such thing as, I mean, only in the past was there such a thing as a Playboy cocktail waitress, like the bunny cocktail waitress. So it wasn't even a thing anymore when we were getting bunny costumes and doing tours.
Yeah, bunny costumes were for us giving tours and for the playmates who are working playmate promotions. And also I want to add, not only was I a tour guide bunny and was trained for that, but I was also a dealer bunny and was trained for that. So how did I not earn it?
Right.
How did you not earn it? Like, it's just, she doesn't know and it's embarrassing. So this woman, they say her name, I'm going to redact that, worked at Playboy from 1972 to 1982, first as a bunny, then as a bunny mother, a manager at the Playboy clubs who was responsible for making sure that the bunny waitresses were well trained and properly attired, among other tasks. She told Insider in a recent interview that the antics of the Girls Next Door stars, Holly Madison, Kendra Wilkinson, and Bridget Marquardt, had a negative effect on the image of the bunnies. In whose fucking mind?
What did we do to create a negative image?
I feel like it made the bunny costume like exciting for a new generation. And there was never an episode where the bunny costume was featured that we weren't talking about how cool it was to get a chance to wear it and how iconic and what an honor it was.
Yes.
I mean, we talk about it later in this episode. We talk about it being a big honor to be chosen as a waitress for the Playboy Club, you know?
Yeah. And also, I was going to say too, just to add to that, like, I think Girls Next Door, if anything, it brought like attention to it, more respect to it, and a whole new audience that even knows what this bunny costume is and what it means and why it's there.
100%. I feel like over the past 5 or 6 years, the bunny costume has been one of the most popular Halloween costumes. And I feel like that's because the people who are old enough to want to wear a sexy Halloween costume now were growing up with Girls Next Door. And then she says, they did not earn those ears, she said of Madison, Wilkinson, and Marquardt, who lived with Hugh Hefner at the Playboy Mansion in Los Angeles as his girlfriends in the early 2000s. Their behavior detracted from the Playboy bunny image. Clutch my pearls.
This woman is so bitter. So bitter. But what did she do to earn it? I mean, she says we're going to get to it, but she goes through training and stuff, but so did we. So do the Playboys.
Yeah. According to her, Playboy bunnies, women who worked as cocktail waitresses in the company's members-only clubs nationwide, had to undergo rigorous training for the position, including memorize a specific call-in sequence for over 60 types of cocktails and perfecting the bunny dip, a maneuver in which a bunny leans back while bending her knees in order to elegantly serve drinks while keeping her costume in place. Well, we didn't learn that. We learned other things because our costumes were for a different purpose, but we were still held to the highest standards, I feel.
Yeah, well, basically, all that we didn't learn is the cocktail, because there was no cocktail waitressing anymore. We weren't wearing the bunny costume to be cocktail waitresses, and neither were the playmates. That was for the clubs only, which didn't exist anymore and hadn't existed for 20 years. They weren't doing that anymore. And I also wanted to say that had the course existed, I honestly would have loved to have taken it. I would have gone and taken a 2-week bunny boot camp course and loved it. Like, I totally would have. And going back to the last paragraph too, when she says their behavior detracted from the Playboy bunny image, it's like, excuse me, our behavior? Like, what? We were always professional in it. Even Kendra, who didn't want to wear it. And that's fine. She didn't wear it because she didn't want to hold up all of the bargain of wearing the bunny costume and what it meant. That's fine.
But I'm just picturing her like seeing us having fun on TV and well, that's not what it is. If you're not like standing still like a statue, that's not what it is. I don't know.
But like you said, we were official tour guides and we were appointed by Hef. So who is this lady to say who gets it and who doesn't? Maybe we need to say that she doesn't deserve to wear it because she didn't know how to give the tours.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing.
She didn't earn her ears.
She was referencing the fact that Madison, Wilkinson, and Marquardt frequently dressed in the iconic bunny costume, which I don't think we did that often. I think it was really rare on the show.
Yeah.
Complete with, it's not like we were wearing it and just like rolling around in bed or something. Like we wore it for specific reasons. Complete with ears and a fluffy tail on the girls next door, despite never having worked as actual bunnies at a Playboy club because we're too young. According to her, Hefner's girlfriends didn't properly clarify their positions at the mansion and within the Playboy hierarchy as a whole. She called Madison a paid girlfriend because there's nothing a woman loves more than to call another woman a whore, who got weekly allowance from Hefner and said Madison wasn't a bunny proper. Well, I have news for you, lady. I actually was. And like, what's her deal with we didn't properly clarify our positions in the mansion? All three of us were honest about we were dating Hef.
Yep.
You know, or what? We earned those ears, she told Insider of the use of the bunny costumes on the girls next door. And then it says she was featured in the Secrets of Playboy.
I think
What are
we
your
did
thoughts?
plenty of clarifying why we wore the costumes and how much they meant to us and what an honor it was. So I think that this woman is offensive and I think she needs to apologize.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking about, because you were saying that we clarified every time we wore the bunny costume. The first time we wore the bunny costume on TV, it was for Operation Playmate, which is a support the troops volunteer thing that I fucking ran. I didn't invent it, but I ran it at the time I was there, and you guys all participated and volunteered your time. I mean, I know it's her being ignorant. She just doesn't know. She's probably seen like 2 clips of Girls Next Door and been like, oh, what are they doing? But how embarrassing for her.
It really is.
It really is. So should we get into the episode on that note?
Yeah, we could get into it now.
Okay, so this is for all you cat mommies and cat daddies out there. Are you guys as obsessed with your cats as I am? Admit it. I bet if I were to look at your camera roll, there'd be like 90% of the pictures in there would be all of your kitties. I know mine is. And of course, we want to give our kitties the very, very best, and that includes keeping their litter box extra clean. And I was wondering, have you guys heard of the litter robot? I believe the litter robot just might be the solution to all your litter box problems. Could you imagine never scooping again with the litter robot? Litter robot's self-cleaning technology automatically cleans after every use, so your cats will always have a fresh bed of litter to do their business, and your friends won't think your house smells like a litter box. And get this, Litter Robot will send a notification to your phone when it needs to be emptied. It even gives you data and insights to stay on top of your cat's health. It doesn't get any easier than this, and your cat will thank you. Join over 1 million happy pets and pet parents who've upgraded to Litter Robot. So, what are you waiting for?
As a special offer to listeners of the show, go to stopscooping.com/nextlevel and enter promo code NEXTLEVEL to save an extra $50 on any Litter Robot bundle. That's an extra $50 off any Litter Robot bundle at stopscooping.com/nextlevel and enter promo code NEXTLEVEL at checkout. Stopscooping.com/nextlevel and enter promo code NEXTLEVEL. Welcome back to Girls Next Level.
Woo-woo.
We are back talking about another episode. This is Girls Next Door, Season 2, Episode 14. This one's called Rabbit Season. And
Wait, is it episode 14? I have episode 13 down. Did I write it wrong?
I think it's 14. At least that's what I looked up yesterday.
Oh.
But, you know,
Doesn't matter.
We are somewhere. We're somewhere in the ether. So we have a lot of different feelings about this episode. It's
Yes.
a love-hate relationship.
It's interesting because you were talking about really liking this episode, it being one of your top ones. And I was thinking, I kind of hate this episode.
There's a lot to dislike about it. There's things that I cringe watching this episode. There's things I feel really bad about watching this episode. But I like me in it. I think that's why I like it. Like for me, this ranks as like my top 3 favorite this season. Like it goes Dog Birthday Party, Girls Will Be Ghouls, and this one. But it's only because I like me in it. Like that's the only thing.
Okay.
So this episode,
Wait, we have to
What?
go in the grotto time machine.
that's what we're doing.
Oh, I thought you were getting right into it.
No, thanks for reminding me though, because I think I've forgotten to call it the Grotto Time Machine.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
So anyway, So getting back into the Grotto Time Machine, this episode first aired on November 5th, 2006. The top song at the time was called My Love by Justin Timberlake and T.I. The top movie at the time was Borat. Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
All I can think of when I think of Borat is when he's... Do you know what I'm going to say?
Yes.
Are you serious?
The like one piece bathing suit thing, getting on top of him naked with his like balls in his face.
No, that's the part I think of is when he's staying at somebody's house and he poops in a bag and then he comes out and hands the bag of floating turds to somebody at the dinner table. Oh my God. I just want to barf.
No, I thought it was going to be the scene where he like spreads his butt on someone's face.
I think that's the most famous scene. Do you remember when like, didn't Jenny McCarthy and Jim Carrey wear that? Or was it John Mayer? They wore that bathing suit.
I don't know, but I feel like they put Kendra and I in something similar to it for I'm just kidding. Kendra and I did a photo shoot like right after we were out of the house, and they put us in these like neon outfits. I felt like we're very Borat. Like I was like, these are weird.
That's so funny.
But we watched that movie at the mansion.
We did,
and I remember everybody was just like it was loud in the theater. Like people were rolling and freaking out over that movie.
And do we remember, like, how much of Borat was real? Wasn't Borat kind of like a prank movie where they would film that stuff and people were being pranked? Or was it all scripted? Do we know?
I don't know how much was scripted versus actual prank, but I think a lot of people did not know they were being filmed or being part of it. I think. Because I heard that some people sued afterwards and...
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that.
And wasn't Pamela Anderson really upset over the scene?
I don't know because I kind of thought she was in it and knew, because wasn't there a scene where he goes to a book signing of hers and she runs from him?
Yeah.
I thought she was in on that. I don't know. I think there was some drama where she went to the screening with a boyfriend and the boyfriend didn't know anything about the movie. And because her sex tape was referenced in the movie, the boyfriend freaked out on her.
Oh.
That's what I heard in the tabloids. I don't know if that's true.
I know there was some drama associated with her and the movie. I don't remember exactly. I thought maybe she did not know. But doesn't he grab her and carry her off? So I feel if he's gonna do something like that, she's got to be in on it.
Yeah, the book signing scene seemed like she was in on it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
let us know in the comments if you guys know. If you're on the YouTube or the Patreon. So this episode opens up with a flashback of me doing the bunny costume fashion show at the Palms.
Don't you think that's weird? The show, unless we are out of town, the show always starts at the mansion. It always starts with a scene of the mansion from outside. And Kevin told me that was very important to him to always start at the mansion and finish with the mansion. And so when this started with a showing, it just starts abruptly too, out of nowhere. It just shows the palm sign and then you on stage in Vegas, which it makes sense because about what we're about to do. But I was like, wait, he broke the mold here.
Yeah, and the mold makes sense because it gives you a framework, because when I first turned this on, I was like, wait, am I watching the right episode?
Yeah, or did I catch it? Or did it start already?
Yeah.
Did I rewind it all the way? But then I was thinking too, you know what Kevin might be doing here?
What?
He's trying to plant it slowly but surely that this is our home away from home. The Palms is our home too.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's our second home.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where he was going with this.
That makes sense. Because it was a jarring open, I felt like. I was like, wait, what are we doing again? Even though I knew I was about to watch an episode on the bunny thing.
Yeah, but it caught me off guard for sure.
And I'm talking about what a big deal it is that the Playboy Club is coming back. And they show clips of the Playboy Club in the Palms being filmed. And seeing the rabbit casino carpet, that gave me flashbacks.
Me too, because I forgot about the rabbit flooring until they showed it. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot about all the bunnies on the floor.
Yeah. And we're talking about how we're having a casting call at the mansion for women who want to work at the Playboy Club. And, it's 4 girls from LA, I guess, who would move to Vegas to be a bunny. And I was thinking, I wonder if that job was well paying enough for people to want to relocate. So I asked my friend Gina, who used to be the bunny mother out there. And she said that the dealers got tipped really well, the dealer bunnies, but all the bunnies had to pool their tips and it was divided at the end of the night. So it turned out all the bunnies made really good money. And she said there were a few local girls, but a lot of them came from all over. And there was a nationwide search. And I asked her, I go, did they live at the Palms? Which I don't know why I thought that. But she was like, no, they had to get their own places.
That would have been cool if they lived at the Palms.
I know, that would have been fun. And you're talking about this casting and how it's a good chance to find girls who are serious about being bunnies. And one thing I noticed about you in this episode is it's like in the tradition of Sweet Valley High book titles, the new Bridget.
Really? Why?
Because I feel like you're a little more serious in this episode. And you're not like as bubbly and soft as you usually are. You're a little more serious and you're very much about finding like the smartest, the best, the hardest workers.
I think that I took this opportunity really seriously. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't just like, oh, for fun, we're just going to go out there and like no,
Judge.
we're actually like, helping to pick who's going to be there. And I think that I just took it really seriously. It was an opportunity at like have a real job for a day.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be like professional and serious about it.
And I think you and I were so thirsty from day one for like something of substance to do up there. Like that's why we volunteered to give the tours of the mansion and things like that. Is we were just hungry for something of substance.
Yeah. And I was always looking for something that might be an opportunity later on down the road because I always knew this wasn't forever for me. So like maybe there is a job in this later on. Like I don't think I was specifically thinking this is what I want to go do when I want to go like be the person who hires the bunnies for the casino or anything like that. But I thought it's a good resource to have. It's a possibility of a job. And I know the people that are doing it. It might as well make a good impression. And that way, if it ever did come to that and be something I wanted to do, maybe the opportunity is there.
Yeah, totally.
So, you know what I mean? Like I
totally
took
makes
any of these kinds of like job opportunities really seriously.
Yeah. And then they cut to Hef in the office as we're talking about, the Playboy Club's reopening and we're having this casting and stuff like that. And I can see there's this mood board tucked over on the side of the couch. And it was a mood board for the Hugh Hefner suite.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was like one of those, it was like a big board and it was by the interior designers and it had like the real swatches and stuff. And that was the first time I'd ever seen like a real interior design mood board with like actual swatches. And I thought that was so cool. And I remember being fascinated by them. There were several of those mood boards. They were all like in a stack against the wall. And I just remember, I think part of it being so exciting was this was one of the few things that was like new in the Playboy world. Not that I don't love the retro stuff, but this was like the first new thing in a while, like since we'd been there. And it was just really exciting.
Yeah. Well, it was new, but it was a bring back kind of a retro thing, which is cool.
Yeah.
We are talking about an interview too, like that you were happy to be a part of this and stuff. But we were kind of wondering like how much input we were really going to have, or if they were just like humoring us to have us involved. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I never thought too much about it, to tell you the truth. I was more focused on wearing my bunny costume and like meeting people. But it's hard to answer that question without it being colored by the fact that we just watched this episode, because what happens at the end makes me think they didn't count our ballots at all.
Yeah, maybe it's something we should talk about at the end of it, how much we think they really. Let's save that one for the end.
Yeah, because you guys will see at the end, there's like, how many people are there like at the quote unquote judges table? It's me, you, and Kendra. It's
Keith and Chris, the guy from Human Resources.
John Gray.
Oh, at the very end?
Yeah.
Oh, at the very end, it's me, you, Kendra, Hef, George Maloof, and John Gray. I think that's it. I think that other human resource people are probably just off to the side.
Yeah. So I don't know how many ballots were actually counted or who was really making the decisions. But I don't know if I almost feel like we were just put there for the show, something to do for the show.
Yeah, I have theories on it.
Yeah. You'll have to let me know what those are when we get to it. You guys know I go over every episode of our old show looking for any kind of hidden agenda, any kind of sinister motive, anything that was possibly going on behind my back. But when I need a break, when I need to channel that energy into something a little less personal, I go to our favorite mobile game, June's Journey. June's Journey is an amazing murder mystery set in the glamorous 1920s. You also get to design and build your own island estate. There's all these gorgeous hidden object games to look at. It is one of my favorite things to do.
Step into the role of June Parker and search for hidden clues to uncover the mystery of her sister's murder. Engage your observation skills to quickly uncover key pieces of information that lead to chapters of mystery, danger, and romance. Where will each new chapter take you? In June's Journey, you can find hidden clues and uncover a murder mystery. Solve mind-teasing mysteries of the Roaring Twenties. Engage your sense of observation to find hidden clues. Search for hidden objects from the parlors of New York to the sidewalks of Paris. Each chapter uncovers a collection of dazzling hidden object spectacles for you to solve. This game is about a daring young woman, June, traveling to her sister's estate to uncover scandalous family secrets. You can customize your very own luxurious estate island, let your imagination run wild when decorating your island estate, and you can collect scraps of information to fill your photo album and learn more about each character. Can you crack the case? Download June's Journey for free today on iOS and Android.
And then it cuts to old black and white footage that I know is from the 50s. But do you ever get shocked looking at older footage, like even stuff from the 90s, like old news clips of like Bill Clinton or whatever? Is it ever shocking to you how terrible the quality of the film is? And like how when they show old news clips, like how deteriorated it is? And it makes me think, did it always look like that and we just didn't realize? Or has it literally deteriorated over the years and not been like remastered and restored?
Well, I think it maybe always looked like that. I think we're always evolving in technology and it's always getting better and better and sharper and more pixels and like whatever it is. Like, I think the quality has gotten better and better.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like, obviously I know this footage is from the 50s, but it's like really poor footage.
Yeah.
And it was from the 50s and it was like from TV. And was Playboy's Penthouse, Hef's first show, was that live?
I'm not sure.
It was like the early days of television. So there's this really grainy footage.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think Penthouse magazine got the name from the show Playboy's Penthouse?
I've wondered that before too. I don't know.
Penthouse was such a Playboy ripoff, and that would have annoyed, I mean, I know it did annoy Hef, but that would have really annoyed me. It would have annoyed me so bad.
But I don't know if I've looked at a Penthouse. It was much more graphic, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. That was really the only difference. It was a magazine that had a centerfold, and instead of Playmates, they were called Pets. And I think they were given like key necklaces instead of bunny necklaces. It was very much a copy. It was just like more explicit.
Yeah. So they bring in a girl.
Yeah.
This is still in the old footage. They bring in a girl and she's got a trench coat on, but then they take it off to reveal the bunny costume.
Yeah, it was like the first mock-up of the bunny costume they made. And that woman was Hef's girlfriend at the time. Her name was Cynthia Maddox. And we used to hang out with her son at the mansion all the time.
Yeah.
He was one of our favorite people. And they're showing old Playboy Club footage. And you know what I noticed?
What?
One of the bunnies is dancing like Hef. She's doing the weird Hef dance. Because I always, as you guys know, I always talk about Hef's like weird dancing because I just don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Like you don't see people dancing like that in old movies, really. Like I just don't know. Like I've always wondered, was that something he made up? Was that, I mean, maybe it was something he made up and the bunny was copying him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then I see this bunny doing this kind of dance like he does. And I'm like, maybe it was a thing.
Maybe.
I'm so confused.
So you say in an interview that the Playboy Club was in Chicago. That was the first one. And then it spread all over the world. And then they show more vintage clips of everything.
And my voice is bothering me in this episode. I feel like I have a weird accent and it's really strong.
I didn't notice.
It's the way I say A's. It's weird. It's like, I don't like how I used to talk. It really bothers me. And then I say, every Playboy Club that opened was successful. But I don't think that's true.
I was wondering if that was true. And it's weird, too, because you say every Playboy Club that opened was successful, but it finally closed in the 80s. Well, they weren't too successful at their closing.
Exactly. And then they cut to, at some point, they cut to footage of Hef making an announcement like on the closing day and goes, oh, if every day was as busy as this day, we'd stay open forever.
Right.
And like, obviously at the time, like I was a huge cheerleader for like Playboy and Hef. So I'm going to want to say the nice things, but I almost have to think that that was a line they gave me.
Yeah,
because
it could have
even
been.
I knew back then that there were certain clubs that didn't do well. Like they tried to open a casino and club in Atlantic City, but then they couldn't even get like the gambling license. So that was like a huge like hit to the company.
Yeah. Well, maybe they were successful initially, like when they
I think
very
a lot of
first.
them were.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they went on for quite some time and they opened so many of them. Most of them were, but I think it's not true to say every single one that opened was successful.
I wonder how many there were.
Oh, it says there were 30 clubs around the world. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a few. I remember, wasn't there one in like Wisconsin or something that had like
Lake Geneva. Yeah, it was a whole resort.
Yeah.
I feel like Lake Geneva Playboy Club comes up like more than once in the Playboy murders for some reason.
Interesting.
Like we've talked, there's a couple episodes where the reason it's covered in the Playboy murders is like maybe the perpetrator was somebody who was a bunny at that club. That was definitely one of them. But I think there's like at least two that were, the Bambi Benbenek story too. There was a bunny that worked there who was, in my opinion, framed for murder.
Wow. Well, I just remember thinking that resort looked amazing.
It did look really cool. I feel like the Jamaica one looked so cool too.
And I remember somebody reached out to me and said that it's actually the Lake Geneva one is actually still there, but it's obviously something else now, but it's still like a resort.
And it's haunted. Because remember when we did that
yes!
haunted pilot, we were coming up with a list of places we wanted to go, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
So I forget what it's called now. It's called something else, but it's
I don't remember.
that same resort like redone, and it's supposed to be haunted.
Where do you know where the other ones were? I know there was one in London.
Well, there was one in London, one in Jamaica, and they were just all over the country, like every major city. There were some in even like smaller cities, and I want to say I've heard that some of those were the ones that didn't do well.
Yeah.
It was kind of like over expanding a little bit.
And I know there was definitely one in LA because Nick's mom was a bunny.
Yeah, Century City.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like LA, New York, Miami, New Orleans, all the
Oh, yeah.
usual
And then
suspects.
Cassandra worked at the Miami one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, and then in commentary, you say right in here that your sister, who at that time taught second grade, said that one of her students came up to her and told her that she wanted to be a Playboy bunny when she grows up.
That is so weird. And I wonder what would make a second grader say that. Like, was it the TV show?
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be. And I feel like that's a lot like me, though. Like, I probably would have said that as a second grader I didn't know enough to say it. Like, I had seen the magazines, but I wouldn't know enough to be like, I want to be in Playboy. I just knew I wanted to be pretty like those girls in the magazine, not necessarily that it was Playboy at that time. But if the show had been on and I was little, like, I probably would have been all about it.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And in commentary, Kendra says that a lot of young girls come up to her and say that.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I still see on TikTok, like a lot of Gen Z people are like, oh, this is what I wanted to do when I watched it. Like, I thought this looked like the best.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because it looks fun on TV.
Yeah.
I say in voiceover, a lot of other casinos expressed interest in opening a Playboy club. And I wonder which ones. I know Hef mentioned Planet Hollywood was one of them, but
I remember going down into the dining room one day and there was a meeting going on with Dick Rosenzweig and like Jason Burns and Hef and whoever else. But there was a guy who was a casino owner in there. Kazakian?
Kurt Kerkorian?
Kerkorian, yes.
Oh, so that would have been MGM.
So I know he was definitely in the meeting one day.
Uh-huh. Okay, so there were some contenders, but they picked the Palms.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a good place for it, I think.
Yeah, I feel like it was good. I mean, it's hard when you're off the strip like that.
It is, but I feel like the Palms at that point in time was very good at being like all about pop culture. Like they always had like the cool celebrities staying there.
Yeah, and I felt like it was very good about being like, everything you need is here.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to even go over to the strip.
And it felt young.
Definitely did.
So then it shows us going into Dick Rosenzweig's office and he looks very bored, which I feel like it was not Dick Rosenzweig's usual face. He was a very smiley guy.
Yeah.
And he looks very bored in there.
Well,
He's so
I don't
serious.
know how much he loved doing scenes for the show.
I think you're right. I think he wasn't like super into it. And he's like, there's a lot to be done here.
Yeah, I think he's not very comfortable or wasn't very comfortable in that kind of setting. You know what? Did you ever go back to his office very often? Because I always felt like every time I went back there, I was like, wow, so this is what it looks like back here.
Yeah, it was rare. And he had a funny little bathroom back there that reminded me of the bathroom that was in the game house. And they were these tiny little half baths that were like built in the 70s or remodeled or put in the 70s. And they had all these little tiles. It reminded me of like, if you imagine like a 70s swinger private jet and like what a bathroom would look like in there. So that was a fun little nook.
Yeah. So we sit down and we're all excited about being judges. And he says, you are indeed. Now, I sort of remember this, but I also got the vibe from the scene. I don't think we had a choice in this. I think we were told we were going to be judges.
Probably. And I think we were excited about it.
We were excited about it, no doubt. Like, I'm not saying we weren't, but I don't think it was like something that we asked to do.
No, it wasn't something we were like, oh my God, you're having this casting call? What if? It sounds like something I would say. It sounds like something I would come up with, but I don't think we did.
I don't think so either, because I very much got the feeling when we sat down that you're like, so I heard we're going to be judges for this thing, and we'd like more information about it. Like, we were just kind of told, you girls are going to be the judges, and then they didn't tell us anything more. So we were trying to figure out like what it is we're going to do.
Yeah. And then he says playmates have to try out like everyone else. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's weird?
I think that's fair.
I'm very on the fence. I feel very both ways about it.
Well, obviously, if they're already a playmate, they've already passed half the test. But I feel like, and this is what I was very strong about that whole time, the personality has to be on point. And when you're posing in the magazine, that's not necessarily that important.
No, I think you're 100% right. But I do think that Playboy knows, especially through Playboy promotions, who's good at that and who's not. And I feel like, I mean, it's great for the show that the playmates are coming to this audition. And yeah, in like a totally fair's fair world, like, of course, they should try out like everyone else. But I kind of feel like, I don't know, I think maybe if I was a playmate, I would feel like that was weird going to an audition. That would make me feel insecure maybe. Or maybe I'd feel like everybody's looking at me weird. I mean, that's more a reflection of my insecurity than anything. But I don't know. I just always liked the idea of playmates being like this, you know, untouchable thing.
Well, I think they definitely had the advantage.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
And I think they probably knew that going into it, that yes, I have to go through the same process as everybody else, but I already know these people and I have an advantage and I already made playmates. So they know I have the look. They know I have the body. So now I just have to show them that I have the personality and it's something that I want to do.
Yeah, totally. But I go so many ways with it. But I do think it's weird because like Kiana, like she's hot. She's everything. She's great personality. And they know that from Playmate promotions. Like, wouldn't you just say, okay, Kiana Chase is interested? Yeah, sure. Like no brainer.
Yeah.
But then I go back around again. It's also great for the show that we have these Playmates showing up on this. So
yeah,
I'm all over the place with it.
And then Kiana got it. So I feel like there was no doubt that she was going to get it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
I guess they want to gauge like how serious are they about this job? You know, it's going to be a real job where you have to learn to, you know, be a server or a bartender if you've never done that before. You have to learn to be a dealer if you've never done that before. Whereas Playmate promotions, it's a different skill. It's just like, how good are you at mingling and talking to people and making people feel comfortable?
So
I guess that makes sense too. Like if you want to gauge, because if there were all these Playmates kind of throwing their hat in the ring, like, oh, I want to go. And then they realize, oh, I don't really want to be a dealer though. I want to, and then you have 50 people flaking. So yeah, I'm coming back around again. Yeah, I guess it does make sense to have the Playmates show up because then you see who's really serious about wanting to do the job.
Yeah.
So you guys know that I work out every day and I'm always trying to improve my fitness and my metabolism. And you guys also know that Holly's always looking for ways to strengthen her immunity and her gut health. And we are both always looking for ways to enhance our skin and hair radiance. Well, we recently discovered an incredible product called Armra Colostrum. I've been adding Armra Colostrum to my smoothies after I get done working out, and I swear I have not been as sore as I usually get. Because colostrum has been shown in research to help enhance nutrient absorption, promote lean muscle building, and improve endurance while fueling cellular repair regeneration for faster recovery. So it's helping me so much. Colostrum is the first nutrition we receive in life and contains all of the essential nutrients our bodies need in order to thrive. Armra Colostrum is a proprietary concentrate of bovine colostrum that harnesses over 400 living
bioactive nutrients that strengthen the barriers of your body and fuel cellular health for thousands of research-backed health benefits. It strengthens immunity, ignites metabolism, fortifies gut health, activates hair growth and skin radiance, powers fitness performance and recovery, and confers powerful anti-aging benefits.
We've worked out a special offer for our audience. Receive 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmra.com/nextlevel or enter next level to get 15% off your first order. That's tryarmra.com/nextlevel. I learned to be a dealer before when I know I've told you that before, but when I did the dealer for charity at the Palms, although I feel like I would have to relearn. That was so long ago.
Yeah.
I feel like I forgot.
Are there a lot of rules?
Not a lot. It's just like dealing blackjack, but I don't remember any like special. I mean, they take their rules very seriously, like the Gaming Commission, but I don't remember anything like crazy or weird. My goal is more just to be like somebody's good luck charm while they're gambling. not really getting back into it.
And then the question happens.
Oh yeah. I want to know if I can wear my bunny costume because I had this new one that I'd had made and hadn't had like occasion to wear it. And I'm talking about it in voiceover and I'm saying it's a VIP style bunny costume. And I feel like I need to say what that is. The VIP bunny costume in the clubs was a costume that had trim along the leg and the bust. And that was the costume women wore when they worked in the VIP section of the club. So I had this costume made and it was hot pink and it had the black trim. And I found the fabric myself. I was excited about it because they didn't make any hot pink bunny costumes. And I'm still confused why they didn't want me to wear it to this.
Yeah, I was going back and forth in my head trying to just figure out like why it's intimidating because that's what he says. That could be intimidating. That's the next thing he says here.
I don't believe that though, because if you are wanting women to come try out for this job and you want them to be excited about it and feel like it's something special and it's more than just a customer service job, it's like a role, wouldn't you want somebody who was on a hit TV show and who's one of the hosts of the thing to be wearing the costume and looking great in it?
Well, I was thinking about it too. Like, if nobody was wearing a bunny costume, but they had a lot of playmates working this event that were all in bunny costume.
Yeah. And that made me question too, did they not want me to wear it because it looked like I'm working in a way that I wasn't? Because I always kind of wondered if Hef didn't want me wearing the bunny costume sometimes because instead of being a girlfriend, it looked like I was there to work.
Yeah.
Because definitely when somebody's in a bunny costume, they're there to work or like be surrounding Hef during an appearance or something like that. Like when Quentin Tarantino did the scene at the mansion for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, one of the inaccurate things about that was he had women dressed in bunny costume, kind of like dancing in the party. And he would have never had women in bunny costume working a personal party. Like if a company was having a party in the backyard, they could buy a package where they would have playmates show up in bunny costume.
Yeah.
But he would never have had that like at a personal party.
Right.
It was very much considered working when you were in the bunny costume. So maybe that was part of it. But then there's the part of it where I get really inside my head and I'm like, did they just think I didn't look good? And I still to this day don't have a good gauge on whether or not I looked good or met the beauty standard back then. Because I look back at myself in pictures, not all the time. There was the short hair era that I looked pretty ratchet. But most of the time, like especially in the Girls Next Door era, I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I think I looked really good or whatever. But the way I was treated, when I think back to like the way they reacted to me, if I would say I was interested in doing certain things such as, oh, I'd love to be a playmate or I'd love to wear a bunny costume to this. I feel like the attitude I got back was very like, how do we tell this girl she's ugly? Like I felt like that was the vibe.
I know what you mean because I felt that vibe too, wanting to be in Playboy and stuff and being right there and just sort of like, you know, always like, well, there's a lot of cute blondes that want to be in Playboy.
Yeah.
Like I was getting that kind of story. But there's no way you didn't meet the beauty standard.
Thank you. You too.
Like there's no way. And even watching it back now, all these years later,
great in the costume.
You look amazing
Thanks.
in the costume.
But when he says stuff like, oh, I think they'll find that intimidating, I feel like that's him trying to, in a nice way, say, girl, you don't look the part.
See, I don't even
I mean, maybe
know.
that's not the case, but I get that feeling sometimes.
Yeah, because I don't even know how he could even think that.
I don't know. I just kind of felt like everybody thought I was a bridge troll. You know what's weird is I feel like as much beef as I've had with him over the years, I feel like the only male in that sphere that like ever made me feel pretty or ever said I was beautiful was Kevin.
Oh,
That was the only one. Everybody else, bridge troll. Then there's a setup scene in the office of me asking Hef what he looks for in a bunny, as if I don't know.
you're right.
But they're asking me to say that for the audience's sake. And then I hint around about wearing the bunny costume, and they do my favorite gag where they pause and zoom in on Hef's face and go doo 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 doo.
Yeah.
And like I knew that for whatever reason he was resistant to me wearing the bunny costume, but I also knew it wasn't the biggest deal if I was going to do it for the cameras. Like it wasn't something I was going to get in trouble for, so I felt like it was fun to kind of like poke at that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I like this episode is I feel like it gave me a chance to have fun with something and have a little sense of humor about something. And it was one of the rare times that me and the show were on the same page and that we're both doing it, you know?
Yeah. And Hef says what we're looking for is nice, fresh, outgoing personalities, attractive, but the personality is very important too, he says.
And then when I'm talking about the bunny costume, he says a little quip. He goes, well, you should wear it tonight and we'll have a really swell time.
Yeah.
But can you think of a more difficult outfit to fuck in?
No, it's impossible.
I mean, just getting out of it. I mean, you can't slide it to the side either.
no way.
It's just so stiff and so tight.
well, and you have to wear 2 pairs of nylons with it.
Yes!
Everybody does, not just us. You have to wear 2
Yeah.
pairs of nylons.
And it's not something you could rip off or, I mean, it's just,
oh, well, you need help getting in them and help getting out of them.
yeah. Which leads me to the next very serious question. Is the bunny costume sexy?
I mean, it is because it's been played that way for so
Mhm.
long. So I think it is now just because it's been played that way for so long. But was it originally?
Oh, originally it definitely was. Like, Hef used to tell stories about how there would be different clubs where they would have to, like, they couldn't have the bunny costume be as high cut on the hip or as narrow in the crotch.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Boston Playboy Club had to have like a conservative version. And so I know back then it was very sexy because it was so skimpy. You just
Yeah.
didn't see women walking around in things that looked like that or things that were like, you might see a woman in a bathing suit, but you didn't see the combo of like something that's the size of a bathing suit, but is corseted and makes it like basically like walking around in lingerie. You didn't see that back then.
right.
And the bunny costumes, when I think about what that must have felt like for a woman to wear it back then, they're so narrow in the crotch. Even though you're wearing 2 pairs of pantyhose,
Yeah.
that must have felt like a lot.
Yeah.
And now now I look at it, I think of just something as like iconic and pop culture
Yeah.
and very cute. And yeah, it makes your body look great. So it's sexy in that way, but it's not sexy in I can picture rolling around in the hay with that girl.
Oh, yeah, no,
It's 'cause
not
it's
that.
soft. Like it's so structured.
Yeah.
And I remember like I was so excited about like the Playboy Club opening and the bunny costumes coming back. And Destiny at the time, who was from Vegas, I remember she looked over at me one day. And it's funny because Destiny's younger than me. But back then I felt like she was so much more worldly and wise than I was. Because she was somebody who had like graduated high school early and she was living in Vegas and she was doing all this. And I remember, I think we're sitting outside on the sun chairs and she looked over at me. She goes, well, like she's really breaking some news. She goes, well, you know, the bunny costume's not sexy, right? Because we were talking about how George Maloof wanted to make changes to it before Roberto Cavalli designed it. Just like breaking the news. It was so funny. Yeah.
No, I didn't know.
But I guess along the lines of like a Vegas cocktail outfit, it doesn't really stand out.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because every Vegas cocktail girl outfit is kind of like that size.
Right.
It's not as polished looking or as iconic or as cute.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. It's so iconic.
Yeah.
Like, it's been around forever. People know what it is when they see it. People try to replicate it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubting the Playboy bunny costume.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And then so you're still, trying to let you wear the bunny costume. And he says that he doesn't think you should because you're going to be a judge. And you said, well, I think the
a Playboy bunny would be the best Playboy bunny judge. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's official.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he felt like it would be weird if I was wearing it and you guys weren't.
I mean, technically, wouldn't we have the option to wear it too? Like, if you were going to wear it, we could also wear our bunny costumes.
I don't know.
And obviously we know Kendra doesn't want to, but like if she really wanted to, she could have borrowed one and worn it. So I don't feel like that would have been weird.
Yeah. So then it cuts to us in the dining room and we are waiting to be briefed on what we need to do as judges. And a woman named Karen from Human Resources, right? Comes in. Was she from Playboy or the Palms?
I think she's the Palms.
Okay.
Human Resources.
So she comes in and introduces herself to us and sits down and tells us what we will be looking for. And then she goes, and we're looking for willingness to relocate to Vegas. And I go, oh my God, this is more hardcore than I thought. But I must have been reacting to something else.
Yeah, you are, because she sat us down, and I'm not kidding you guys. It was like super professional, like what we had to look for and what we were judging on, what we weren't judging on. And like, it was very much like a human resources type of meeting. Like it was official, like a real job thing. It wasn't just like, yeah, just see, who's cute, who's fun, like whatever. It wasn't just like that. It was very, very, there was strict standards and guidelines and things you could ask and things you could not ask and the whole human resources thing on it. So it was serious. And that's when she tells us that there's going to be 300 ladies coming.
That's a lot. It didn't seem like that many, but a lot of people.
We were out there. We were out there for over 4 hours.
Damn.
So
that would be kind of a fun audition to go to if you're just like a girl auditioning in LA. I get to come to the Playboy Mansion for a funny audition.
Well, and they were taking advantage of it. There were girls on the trampoline, girls hula hooping, people in the pool. Like everybody seemed to be enjoying it.
And then Karen says, we're looking for someone who can interact and really represent the Playboy bunny image. And then they cut to Kendra coming down in flip-flops and cutoffs. And they have this really jarring music playing. And I think what they're trying to say is, they're looking for prim and proper bunny image, and this is not the bunny image.
Yeah, I think so too.
Disruptor. You can see a boom in the shot.
I saw that too. And she says we're going to be judging them on image, appearance, their personality, oral communication skills, eye contact, body language, and like you said, the willingness to locate to Vegas.
And then Kendra says, I'm going to grade girls on their asses. And Karen just pretends she doesn't even hear it. She's looking the other way. It was so weird. I felt like she totally froze and just ignored Kendra.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Kendra's trying to be like funny for the show and trying to be like, quote unquote, her. But Karen is like, not okay.
Yeah. Well, because she is human resources. And I'm telling you guys how serious they were taking it and like what you can and can't ask for and stuff. And then Kendra like doesn't give a shit. She's like, show me your ass.
And Karen probably doesn't want to like get in trouble at her work either. So she doesn't want to endorse somebody saying, yeah, and then I'm going to have them turn around and show me their ass. Yeah. She's just like,
I'm so excited. My meal delivery from HelloFresh showed up yesterday. And I love when those arrive. It's just like the pressure is off as far as having to figure out what to cook all week. And I love it. And I don't like to spend a ton of time cooking, so you can cut down on time spent in the kitchen so you can get back to enjoying the summer sunshine thanks to HelloFresh's quick and easy recipes. Every week's menu features options that are ready in just 20 minutes or less. That's even quicker than pizza delivery. Plus, sometimes I get so tired of like trying to figure out what we're going to have every week and like doing the shopping for it and everything. Ditch the meal planning woes and dive into HelloFresh's biggest menu yet with over 50 recipes and even more market items to choose from every single week.
I just had the best meal with HelloFresh last weekend. I cooked for my kids. It was this delicious, easy to make chicken entree. The sauce felt so gourmet, but like I said, it was so easy to make. It had this amazing veggie side dish, and it also came with these pretzel bites that you warm in the oven for like 5 minutes. My son absolutely loved those. Also came with egg rolls. I just felt like the best mom because I cooked this meal and it was so easy and there were all these different components to it and my kids absolutely loved it. Also, Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. I love switching between the brands, and now our listeners can enjoy both brands at a discount with us.
Go to HelloFresh.com/nextlevelapps for free appetizers for life. One appetizer item per box while subscription is active. That's free appetizers for life at HelloFresh.com/nextlevelapps. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
So I take the opportunity to go upstairs and change into my bunny costume. And I can see you in the vanity mirror because, of course, I need somebody to help me get in it. And you look so smug in the background. Did you notice
Yeah,
that?
I noticed it. Well, I feel like
So
I look really
funny.
smug before when you go, okay, I'm going to run up and change.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that lady Karen and we're like we're all in on this like silly thing. And then, then I'm in the background and zipping up the costume.
I like when you ask me who said you can't wear it, and I go hef, and you go, well, you're just SOL.
Yeah. I'm like, well, because if it was Dick or it was Mary or if it was just Pat Lacey or something, I'd be like, just go put it on.
Yeah.
Who cares? But when Hef said it, I was like, oh, well.
Done. And I love that they're playing like Revolutionary War marching music as I'm getting dressed.
Because you're such a rebel.
And then I have to get the tube socks to stuff my bra.
Which I was shocked. Did you always do that in the bunny costume?
Well, in the bunny costume, women who worked at the club used to joke that they had 3 tails, 1 on the back and 2 in each boob cup.
I'm trying
because they wore those big puffy bunny tails.
I'm trying to remember if I ever stuffed it.
I mean, I don't think you had to. I think I was just going for like the most extreme of extreme.
Now I'm like, did I stuff it? I don't remember stuffing it.
Yeah, maybe you didn't. And I wonder if the Playmates did. I don't know, but I know it was like a running gag back in the day with women who worked at the Playboy clubs that everybody stuffed their bras.
I'm going to ask Nick's mom if she did.
Yeah, do it. And then I always see the same screen grab on Instagram of me like pushing up my boobs in the shot.
Oh.
I always see that. But I feel like this is one of my favorite looks on the whole show. I just like the hot pink bunny costume. I liked my hair that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like when they do this graphic because I say I'm rebelling because Hef doesn't want me to wear the bunny costume. And they do this silly graphic with like a History's Greatest Rebels book. And they go through and it's like all these random people and then it's me. And this was, I think, what I liked about the episode is like me and the show are having fun together.
Mm-hmm.
And I, honest to God, think it's the first time this has happened. Like it's almost the end of season 2. And it's the first time I feel like, okay, me and Kevin and the editors are kind of on the same wavelength here. And we're kind of like playing to the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like this episode so much.
I also think it's because you're giving them a little something. Like you are rebelling a little bit and they have something to really go on.
Yeah.
Like this is so out of character for Holly. We have
would
to follow
never
it.
happened before.
Right. I also think it's interesting because you go downstairs and you go into the half bath, like the powder room in the Great Hall. And I feel like this is an area that most people on the show have barely seen.
Okay. Can we, because of the half bath, the first thing I think of was, do you remember, you know how you can buy those plastic poop?
Oh my
things for
God.
pranks?
Yes.
So somebody had one. I don't know if it was Kendra's or whose it was, but we went through a phase of like setting that places and doing pranks. And sometimes the butlers would think it was like dog poop and they'd be like, ah. And then I remember one time Kendra set it on the toilet seat of the toilet. And that half bath, if you guys don't know, it was in the Great Hall. So that was like the bathroom most people would use if they were coming over. And it was during like a buffet movie. And Kendra went and put the turd on the fake turd on the toilet. And do you remember Miss Batty? She was so sweet. She was this older woman who was a friend of Hef's. We called her Miss Batty. She walked in there and then she walks out and she just looked like she saw the horrors of war. And she didn't say anything, didn't tell anybody what she saw. I assumed she went off to look for a different bathroom, but you would have thought she just got out of the World War I trenches.
I remember.
And then, you know what else that makes you think of? Okay, I don't know if you remember this, but I sent you a TikTok.
Yes, I remember.
Who was this woman?
So remember how I think it might have been on our Patreon, but we were talking about the the company that brought over like face stuff and everything, and they brought over the eyelash growth serum for me.
Yeah.
She was part of them.
Oh, cool. So she came over and dropped something off. And wait, didn't she say she used to do your facials?
Yeah, well, we had a whole like meeting in my bedroom, and they like did like little facials and stuff for my sister and I, and gave us like the eyelash serums and all this kind of stuff.
Okay, so I can't imagine this is true. But the story she tells on her TikTok is that she went to that bathroom downstairs and she saw like a turd on the floor, a human turd. And she said she walked out and told you about it, and that you allegedly, like, I forget what she said, but it was something like you rolled your eyes and made some comment that made her think it was Hef, that he just went in there and dropped a turd. But I know that A, he would never have done that, and B, you would have never have said he did that.
No.
What do you think really happened?
He doesn't use that bathroom ever.
What do you think really happened?
One of two things. I think it was Archie pooped on the floor in there.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, that's really what it was. And what I was rolling my eyes at is Archie did it again. And I had to let the butlers
she
know.
thought you meant Hef.
Or the other option is it was when we were playing with that fake turd and that was what she saw. But I don't think so. I think it was Archie. But it's a funny story.
It is so funny. Oh my God. Tales from the bathroom.
Okay, so now I'm outside and I'm talking to some of the playmates. They're in their bunny costumes. And you walk out and they say, oh, ooh la la, Holly's in her pink bunny costume. And immediately Whitney, one of our PR people, comes up to you and is like, Holly, is this like one of the new bunny costumes?
I don't think she was being shady, but I think they want it to look like she's being shady. Like, are you sure you're supposed to be wearing this?
That's exactly. She was not being shady at all.
Yeah.
She was just asking you because she was curious and hadn't seen that one before. And then you were like, no, it's not, but it's funny.
And then we meet Chris from the Palms.
He was so amazing.
We loved Chris.
I love his personality so much.
Yeah. And he was in HR, but didn't he kind of feel like a host when we went there? Like we always saw him, right?
Yeah, it seems like it. I don't know. Maybe they kind of like, I don't know what his exact title was, but it does say it's HR.
And I noticed when they cut into your confessional interviews, they have you in the game house, which isn't usually your spot. Like that's usually Kendra's spot. But I noticed they tried to like Bridget it up in the background with like some pink flowers and like a pink bunny pillow.
That's funny.
This must have been in your moving around trying to find a spot phase.
It definitely was.
And then I go back upstairs to use the restroom or something or to grab my name tag.
Forgot your name tag, yeah.
And then I run into Hef and he's like touching my waist and like critiquing the outfit and saying like it isn't a good fit. And I feel like on the show this comes off as like a fat shamey thing or like him critiquing my figure. But in real life, what I remember it being was like he thought the fabric was puckering.
Yeah, I think that's what he was talking about.
Yeah. But clearly the fabric wasn't that awful because they used the rest of the fabric to make another bunny costume that Cara Monaco got. So
yeah, and you also say in commentary that Jean, the lady who makes the bunny costumes, was really freaking out when she saw this scene and was worried that she was going to be fired.
Oh no. I feel like if you're just watching the episode though, you would think it was like a body thing. Like, oh, the fit's not really good. But that wasn't what it was. It was more like he didn't like some of the technicalities about the costume.
Yeah. And you don't see any of those things on camera. So it's really hard to like be like, what the hell is he talking about? Like he's really nitpicky.
And they really weren't that noticeable in real life either. Like this was really, I said she couldn't wear this, let's find a problem kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then we talk about Hef's brother Keith because he's also judging the bunnies and he was the original person who trained the bunnies at the Playboy Club and they cut back to old footage of him training the bunnies.
Yeah.
And later he like gives me a lesson in how to do the bunny dip. And for some reason that scene makes me really uncomfortable.
That's interesting that you say that because I felt I didn't even know why and I didn't even like verbalize it in my notes or anything like that, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, and it's the weirdest thing because I always really liked Keith. Like I never thought Keith was like creepy or rude or anything like that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, something about that made me feel uncomfortable. And I don't know, I can't really pinpoint exactly what it was.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either.
I think maybe he has, because Keith was like a stage actor. And I feel like he always has this almost like Shakespearean way of speaking. And there's always a little bit of drama. And then when I did the bunny dip, he was like, oh no. I feel like that kind of hit me as like being really criticized when it wasn't that way, just because he has that kind of dramatic way of saying stuff. And then when somebody walks over and it's a man and they're like touching you and bending you into shape. And I didn't think he was being pervy or anything, but it's that combo of like, oh no, let me come over and like move your body and correct it. It felt very like weird and shamey, like on camera. It was just, it felt weird.
Yeah, I felt like, and I don't think he was trying to go this way with it, but I felt like it seemed very condescending kind of.
And
Yeah, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus as a
No.
freak because I never felt that way about him, and I don't think he meant it that way. But that's how it felt when it happened, and that's how it feels watching it back. I just felt like all the wind was taken out of my sails.
I can see that. Yeah.
It was just like an odd combination of mansplaining. I think that's what it is. It's the mansplainy vibe, kind of.
Yeah.
Even though he is the one to explain it, he came up with the move, but it was just like an odd little sequence of events that felt uncomfortable.
I felt it too.
Yeah.
I definitely felt it too. Did you notice that Stacy Fuson, she's a playmate and she's working this event. I know that her bunny costume was royal blue, but for some reason in a lot of these scenes, it looks like bright purple.
I thought, what's funny about you saying that is I had to double take and be like, who is that? Oh, that's Stacy Fuson.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost like she was covered in a mystical shield.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Because we made such a big deal about how Sarah Underwood's costume was like the first purple one, or like one of the only purple ones ever. And then I was like, wait, there's another purple one. And so I had to like rewind it again and be like, oh no, it's just,
it's royal
I know
blue.
hers is royal blue. So it's just the way it's being picked up by camera for some reason.
And we have to correct every little thing. So there's going to be somebody out there listening who's like, you guys lied and said it was the only purple one.
Yeah.
And a purple.
And you know what I said in commentary too, which I didn't remember? This was just one of several different casting days, because I was kind of wondering, like, why are they only picking 20? Like, they have to fill a whole casino and we're only allowed to pick 20 girls.
Yeah.
I felt like there was more there that fit the bill than what we got to pick from. And I think it's because there was multiple days of casting.
At the mansion or just everywhere? Because I know they did like a nationwide search.
I don't specify. I just say that
Okay.
it's not the only day of casting. Like,
Yeah. And then Miyu and Kendra are the judges with Keith and Chris, and they cut us so that we're all looking for very different things, even though I think we all kind of know to look for all this stuff. Like for me, it's only about looks. For you, you're like, I'm not looking for looks. I'm looking for, and it's everything like personality, work ethic, things like that. And Kendra's just like, I want to see ass.
yeah.
And then some of the girls that come up to us are so cute and funny. And I love the girl who goes, how long have I wanted to be a bunny? Oh my goodness, forever. I thought she
know.
was so cute. And the way she said that is so like drag queen coded. And I mean that in the best way possible. It's just like so cute and funny.
Yeah.
And then they do a funny cut where you say something about personality and the girl goes, oh, I have multiple personalities. And they cut to you making a face like, which is not real. It's
Yeah.
just like
And just so you guys know, like they put like reactions where it's not how we really reacted to that person or their question. They put like us talking about things that weren't really about the person that was right in front of us. And when people weren't around, like, so it's all edited out of context to try and be funny.
Yeah, it's a jumble.
Yeah.
But it seems like the three of us, everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's getting along. Like it seems like a good day.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then Kiana, the playmate, shows up. We love Kiana. And she must have ended up working there, right?
No.
Oh, she didn't?
She didn't. She said that she didn't want to move to Vegas after all.
Which is, I guess, why they have the playmates trying out.
Yeah.
Because, it does seem like if those were your options, like, would you rather be a dealer and make good tips in Vegas, or would you rather work playmate promotions and like audition or something? It doesn't seem like one is like the vastly better opportunity.
Right.
And then we have Crystal Camden, Hef's former girlfriend.
I know. Yes.
Comes up because she's trying out.
And of course, I really want her to get it. So like I say, I'm going to seal hers. He said, Chris says, give it a kiss.
Yeah.
So we know it's your seal of approval. So I'm like 100% she's got it. So in commentary, I say that the fans were so pissed, like on MySpace, that Crystal didn't get it.
Well, I'm pissed too.
Mm-hmm.
So did Crystal like confide in you about wanting to do the job and like what it meant to her? And was she excited to move potentially?
I did not want her to go. I knew she was going to do the audition, of course, and I think she definitely would have moved and everything. But of course, I'm being selfish and I don't want her to go. I want her to stay at the mansion. But that being said, I'm not going to prevent her from getting it. So I, kiss it, give it my 100% seal of approval. Like this one's got to move on to the next level. Unfortunately, it didn't work for her. She didn't get chosen. And she's definitely very upset.
Yeah.
Because we'll get into it later, but she comes to my room after the whole contest and she's visibly upset. We say that on MySpace, the fans were like so pissed that she didn't get it. And we were telling them, write into the Palms and tell them you want her.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, next week we'll definitely get into why we think she didn't get it, or
Yeah,
the surprise.
you say in commentary that you think it's that maybe the Palms didn't pick her because they thought Hef still wanted her around and they weren't clear of what the situation was.
Yeah, I don't buy that though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's what it was because I think Hef could have easily have said, "Oh, she'd be great."
Yeah, and I don't think the Palms is like aware of who was very recently a girlfriend or who's living across the street. Like they don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to the Playboy Club much after you left the mansion? Because it's crazy to think that, yeah, that was our home away from home. But how many times did we actually go there with Hef? A handful. Because
Yeah.
we would only really go out there for like his birthday or like the grand opening. Did you ever go there or spend much time there like after you left?
I did at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
because I would get hired to host events there
Yeah.
still. So I was definitely back there for that. I know I went back. They did the next Playmate of the Year party there, which is weird. They moved that to Vegas too.
Yeah, I didn't go to the Playboy Club. Like, I would spend a lot of time at the Palms, but I didn't go to the Playboy Club too many times. There was that one time I was a dealer, and there were a couple times I went there for like nights out or whatever. It was interesting because it was like what the Playboy Club actually was it was a boutique nightclub with gambling inside of it. So it wasn't like Moon or, Rain or one of their bigger nightclubs. And I felt like when I went there, it seemed like a very older Midwest crowd. Like people who remembered the Playboy clubs from back in the day maybe were going. Like, I don't think Girls Next Door fans were even old enough to go to clubs at that time. So it was interesting. I don't think it was like the amazing fit. Like, I think having the Playboy brand there was probably interesting, but
Yeah.
I would be surprised if the club itself was seen as like a smashing success.
Oh, you know what else you talk about in commentary is how you were excited because the new Playboy bobblehead was about to come out.
Oh yeah, we did a bobblehead that was kind of like, if you're watching the video, this bobblehead, Bridget has hers behind her too, but it was my head, but in a bunny costume. It was very cute. I love the bobbleheads.
Yeah, they're so
Somebody asked me in an interview, they're like, what are the most cringe pieces of like merch you've been involved with? And they put examples and one of them was bobbleheads. I'm like, I fucking love the bobbleheads.
Yeah. Were they trying to say that was cringe?
I guess. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Guess what I did pick as our most cringe merch?
What?
The boy short underwear that had the slogans on the back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I felt like, first of all, it was a weird fit, like the boy short underwear. Like I would have never actually wore those.
Right.
And then they were some of the first merch that ever came out. And we had no say. Like you'd think if somebody was putting your actual real name and a slogan that's supposed to describe you on a pair of underwear, you'd have to approve that. Nope. It was just like, hey girls, throw these on. Let's model them for the Playboy catalog. And it was weird because like the colors were weird. Like they weren't our colors. Like mine were pink when yours should have been pink. What it should have been was Kendra should have been blue, mine should have been red, and yours should have been pink.
Mm-hmm.
But the colors were all mixed up. And then it's like the slogans, which is like always kind of annoying because it's like, oh, Kendra can be the only wild one and you can be the only beauty and brains. And then I was the sweet one, but I felt like I was always like resting bitch face, like portrayed as being jealous on the show. So I don't know where the sweet one comes from. Okay, so we will see you guys next week. We'll cover the rest of this episode. We're going to talk about judging and being judged. And if you would like more content, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/girlsnextlevel. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Hey guys, if you want more Girls Next Level tea, behind the scenes, and deep dives, head over to our Patreon page for the exclusive content you can only find there. We have a whole other podcast called Slumber Party with Holly and Bridget. We have the commercial-free, uncensored video version of Girls Next Level, our personal scrapbooks, advice, Q&A, and so much more. I'm up in the comments talking to you guys. It's all the good stuff. We've been doing this for about 1.5 years now, so there's a ton of content to binge. So go over to patreon.com/girlsnextlevel to join our Patreon family. We love you guys so much. We'll see you there. I'm Holly.
And I'm Bridget.
And this
is Girls Next Level.
Welcome back to Girls Next Level, everybody. I am, if you're watching the video version, I'm like stuck to the side of my chair because we're like getting used to these new mic configuration. And this isn't where they're going to be, but I ran out of time today before we're recording. So here we are. You know what else sucks about today is I am having Playboy fatigue to the nth degree.
Yeah, well, it's understandable.
Yeah, because as we're filming this, we're recording this like a couple weeks in advance. So as we're doing this, it's right after we had like a phone call go haywire with a potential guest. It's right after that Us Weekly article came out, which we reacted to twice. Once before it came out and once after. But I do feel better. Like I feel better about the situation having reacted to it. Like if I were just sitting on it and had not expressed my views on it, I'd feel worse.
Yeah.
But there's that. There's the fact that as we're recording this, the episode that's about to go live is about my least favorite episode. And I don't even like hearing myself talk about it. I hope you guys like the episode, but I'm editing it and re-listening to it a million times. And I'm just like, I don't know how much Playboy stuff I can take.
Yeah.
Like I have fun doing this show, obviously, but then sometimes when other things come up that like interfere with the rest of our lives or take up more space in our life than the podcast ordinarily does, because obviously we do this podcast, you know, and it's very compartmentalized. It's like the rest of our lives aren't touched by, you know, what happened 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just been a lot lately. And I've just been like, ugh.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean, because it has been a lot. And the Us Weekly thing is draining because it just feels like we're going in circles. Like I think I told you the other day, I feel like I'm like drowning or being suffocated or something when this stuff comes out, because there's the story that's said and then we refute it, but then she just changes it again. And it's just like, I can't keep up with all of the inconsistencies and all the lies. Like my Libra in me wants to go in and like, oh no,
correct.
Yeah, we have to correct all of this because this isn't right. But then part of me is like, I can't keep up with all of this.
I know. And it's too much.
And I know you guys see it too, because I see your comments and you guys are like, how is it just like she says one thing and then you guys correct it and say it can't be that because of this. And then she says something totally different that makes her first thing she said totally wrong. So, and it's just like, and no remorse, no care in the world. I feel like nobody but us is actually calling her out on it. I mean, our fans are, but I mean, nobody else out there that knows, you know?
Yeah. There's so many people who have stories and they're just afraid to talk, or they're just not public facing people and they don't want to do it. And it's a lot.
Or they get scared for some reason.
Oh, yeah, totally. People get scared. So where did we leave off talking about the bunny hunt? Was Crystal Camden the last thing we talked about?
Yeah, and I was sealing off on her application that she needs to move forward to the next episode.
Yeah. So this episode I wanted to call Judging and Being Judged, because you pointed out something really interesting, Bridget, which is that we are being asked to judge what in a lot of ways is a beauty contest. Not in all ways, but you are looking for people that fit a certain beauty standard. But then you feel like we're being judged by the audience for judging the women.
I feel like I'm being judged by the show for judging other women.
Yeah.
And the audience, in return, that makes the audience judge us too. But the show is deliberately trying to make us look catty and rude and saying snarky comments and stuff like that, when it's literally our job to discuss that day, to discuss with the other people, like what we think is positive features about that person and what we think is not. And we weren't doing it in a rude and catty way in front of the people. And it sort of makes it look like that. Like it makes it look like there's rolls of the eyes and like snarky comments and stuff, in my opinion, in this episode. And I felt like this is so rude. Like they asked us to judge this contest, gave us strict criteria on what we needed to look for. And now they're kind of like judging us for judging these other girls, which in turn is going to make the audience judge us.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And make us look catty and rude, which goes back to episode 2. I feel like they're sort of bringing it back to episode 2, where I'm jealous of all these other girls. And it doesn't set right with me.
Yeah, because we're about at the point in this episode, as we're talking about it, where the three of us and Keith are sitting around this table, and Chris from the Palms are sitting around this table, and they're cutting in little snippets of what we're saying. Like Kendra says, I can't believe some of these people are trying out. It would be like me trying out for Miss America. And I say something, and I say something like, well, when you walk into the Playboy Club, you're not going to get the chance to talk to everybody. And then you say something else. But I feel like knowing the three of us, I feel like we're all trying to be very careful with what we say and say it in a diplomatic way because we know what they're looking for. We know what the criteria is. And I feel like we're all kind of like tiptoeing around. Like when Kendra says that thing about Miss America, I feel like she's just being careful and she's trying to be like self-deprecating in the process. Like I wouldn't go try out for Miss America. And I can tell we're all three doing that. But it's tricky waters. It reminds me of one time I was judging a Miss USA contest in Vegas and they, gave us the criteria and what they were looking for before the pageant started. And one of the things they said is, this is a beauty contest. Miss America isn't. Miss USA is a beauty contest. We are looking for beauty.
Right.
And I think there's something about calling a spade when it's like, everybody wants to be politically correct and act like looks don't matter. And of course, we all want to be inclusive. But then there are some of these forums where people are looking for a certain criteria and you can't act like they're not when they are. Like that's hypocritical.
Right.
Either the thing exists or it doesn't. And clearly it exists because it's happening. They're casting women as bunnies at the Palms. And so it's tricky waters to navigate for sure.
And I know I say in one of my interviews, like, I'm not just looking for a beautiful girl. I'm looking for a great personality, somebody who's smart, somebody who, has the whole package. But obviously she can't have an amazing wit, an amazing personality and not fit the beauty criteria.
Yeah.
So I know that in the back of my mind, but it's not the first and foremost what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like just looking at the women who are there, obviously this wasn't an open cattle call. Like I feel like people must have been approved to even come, right? Because everybody kind of meets the criteria.
I'm not sure because there is a part where I think I say it, but one of us says, I'm surprised at some of the people who think they have what it takes to be a bunny because I can tell from across the lawn that there's no way. So I feel like there had to have been some people there that just didn't fit the mold. And you could tell that from like across the yard.
Well, do you think we thought that at the time because we were in this bubble where we were only surrounded by people who met the beauty standard? Because now looking at it, I mean, I feel like maybe not everybody made the cut to be hired as a bunny, but I feel like from an outside perspective, when you're just taking into account people in the real world, it almost looks like it's been filtered and everybody who shows up.
When I was watching the footage back, I was like, everybody looks really good.
Yeah, I thought
really
so too.
good.
So I feel like it must have been pre-screened to a point, don't you think?
I have no idea.
I mean, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but it kind of looks like it was.
Or is later in the day when they have a lot of the B-roll footage, is that where it was narrowed down already? I don't know. Because if there was 300 girls at the end, when we're interviewing people, there's definitely not that many people there.
Yeah.
There's a couple handfuls of girls, maybe 24 or something. So maybe a lot of the B-roll of the perfect girls, maybe it got whittled down that day. Maybe a lot of people did show up. I don't recall for sure, but just based on some of the comments that they're catching us saying and purposely putting in and stuff, I feel like there had to be candidates there that didn't quite meet the standard.
Yeah. And even though they're doing all that, I was relieved when I was watching it because I felt like it could have been worse, and not worse for us, but worse for like the women who went, because if they really wanted to be nasty in the edit, they would have cut like footage of certain girls in when we were saying certain things.
Oh.
So I'm so grateful they didn't do something like that because that would have been like so humiliating and embarrassing for everybody.
Well, I feel like they did it a little bit. Like somebody would give an answer and it would show me like giving like a look like I didn't think that was a good answer, or like
they did do it that way,
rolling my eyes a little bit, or like looking at Chris, like, and even they have him making a comment like next or something. I forget what he says, but it's, very like just no. And I know if any of those girls are watching this, or just to clarify to the audience, these don't match up with what any of the questions that we're asking them or anything like that.
And nobody's probably rolling their eyes at anybody. It was probably just like,
no. And Chris is with human resources, so he's not going to sit there and make those kind of mistakes,
totally.
and, in front of the person. Like that's their job, is to know how to be like totally respectful and all of that. Now, maybe behind the scenes, we actually have to discuss whether somebody has horrible hair or you know, like whatever disqualifies them. But he was not doing that right in front of them, for sure.
Totally. You know what I love doing on this podcast?
What?
I love looking for hidden motivations, what somebody was trying to make me look like in an edit, what was really going on behind the scenes. But because that's so personal, sometimes it can send me spinning. So I like to channel that energy into solving a mystery on June's journey.
Escape to a bygone age of mystery, danger, and romance as you immerse yourself into the world of June's Journey, a hidden object mystery mobile game that puts your detective skills to the test. Play as June Parker and investigate beautifully detailed scenes of the 1920s while uncovering the mystery of her sister's murder. With hundreds of mind-teasing puzzles, the next clue is always within reach.
I feel like it has everything we love. It has murder mystery, the 1920s,
decorating.
Yes, beautiful things to look at. I love the hidden objects game. Like if you're stuck in a waiting room or waiting for your flight, it's the perfect thing to pull up on your phone. It's beautiful to look at. It's challenging, but it's easy enough to be satisfying. And I just think it's so much fun.
Can you crack the case? Download June's Journey for free today on iOS and Android.
And then we get another complicated situation when I say, I see a Bentley twin.
Yeah, this whole scene really bothers me too. Can I get into why, or do you want to start it out?
Oh, you can start.
This whole scene really bothers me because it makes it look like automatically we're catty because there's an ex-girlfriend there.
Yeah.
And I don't appreciate that at all, because we got along so well with so many of the ex-girlfriends, like Brandy and Tina and I mean, Crystal, Stacy, like
Barbie, Sandra. I mean, this show did not portray us as getting along with Barbie, but we all like Barbie.
But we did. Yeah, there's so many ex-girlfriends that we got along with. Of course, we're not going to get along with the mean girls.
Yeah.
But there are so many girls that we get along with. So to make it seem, and I just felt like the scene really made it seem like, oh God, here comes an ex-girlfriend. Was that bitch thing she's doing here? Like automatically we're going to be catty and mean. And I don't appreciate it because that's not how it was.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And I think the reason it was awkward was because we didn't know her and she seemed like kind of an intimidating figure at the time. So it just seemed very intimidating and like they were almost like otherworldly in a way. You know what I mean? And then there's the whole like true crime story that we knew about. And
you got to tell them.
Yeah. And I just feel like all this stuff, it made them seem very like otherworldly and kind of just intimidating in a weird way.
Yeah.
So the true crime thing, we did an episode of Playboy Murders on it. It was about Sandy Bentley, who is not in this episode. She was dating a guy who wrote a book. I have a copy of it. It's not in print anymore. I forget what it's even called, but he wrote a book about it. He was like this Wall Street prodigy, like kind of like a baby Wolf of Wall Street, but he started embezzling money like crazy. And a lot of it he spent on Sandy, like crazy amounts of money, like bought her like a house in Spanish Hills and Las Vegas and bought her all this super expensive jewelry and furs and bought her sister a house and bought her mom a house and like all this cars, like all this stuff. Like I want to say in the show, it was discovered that he spent like $7 million on her.
Wow.
So a ton of money. But anyhow, he was embezzling all this money and got caught. So all the stuff got seized, all the house, everything. So Sandy and the guy she was dating went back into the house and took some of the jewelry and we're gonna sell it on the down low and not return it. And when the boyfriend went with one of his friends to go sell the jewels, him and his friend ended up getting killed and the jewels got stolen. So that was a whole saga. And I remember Dickie Band telling me about that at the dinner table. And he's like, you can't write this stuff. this should be a movie.
I remember
So the
hearing about
whole
it
thing
too.
just seemed so on another level, I
Yeah.
guess.
I think that's better wording for it. In my
Yeah.
opinion, better. It was on another level. Like they, yeah.
And it seemed a little strange for somebody who seems like they're on another level to be showing up for an audition. That kind of circles back around to what I was talking about in last week's episode, where I was like, should Playmates even go be auditioning? And I went around and around with it. And I finally figured out, yeah, because they're trying to figure out just who is serious about this job.
Mhm.
But it might feel funny for some of those women. It didn't seem like it did for most of those women. Like Kiana seemed really happy to be there. But it might feel funny if you feel like you've kind of like made it through all these different levels and then you're going back to audition like everybody else. Like, I wonder how that feels, you know?
Right. But I also feel like somebody like her probably didn't have to, really. They could have called Hef or Playboy and said, hey, I really want to do this, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Well, one would think, but then clearly not. Because do you think she didn't try to do that?
I don't know.
I'm
just
so
feel like
curious.
I'm curious too. And it's also very strange. Oh, and I also should take it back a step further to when I very first came and tested, like back in 98.
You have to retell that story.
I also met the twins then. So Hef wanted to know, there was me and another girl testing, and we were staying out in the guest house. And Hef said, oh, my main girlfriend, Brandy, has a headache tonight, but if she's feeling better, do you girls want to go out? And the other girl and I were like, yeah, at least I had no idea what that possibly meant. Like none. And we go out to the guest house. It's after the buffet dinner and a movie. And all of a sudden the phone starts ringing and it's Hef. And he says, oh, so I can't go out tonight because Brandy has a headache, but what are you girls doing? And I said, oh, we're about to go in the grotto. We were just putting on our swimsuits. And he said, okay, well, we'll meet you out there. So we're like, what? Oh my God, freaking out. So we're helping each other tie on our bathing suits and everything. And then all of a sudden the door busts open and here comes Hef and the twins and another girl that was living there at the time. And they had their hair in the tightest Shirley Temple ringlets I've ever seen. And they were super tan. They didn't say a word to us. They were just kind of like, not wanting to like be out there, it felt like. And Hef said, well, it turns out we can't go in the grotto either because the girls just spent all day in the salon getting these ringlets in their hair. So they don't want to go out to the grotto tonight. But we just wanted to come in and say hi and, see what you're doing. And then they leave. And then we leave to go out to the grotto and security stops us and says, did Hef just come out to the guest house? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, holy shit, he hasn't been out there in years.
Oh my God.
He'd been married for so long.
Coming out of his shell.
Yeah. And this was like one of the first times. This was back in October of 98. So not long after he was just hitting the market again.
Yeah.
So that was an interest. So I had met them before.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a super warm welcome.
Yeah.
Not that I expected it or cared or knew anything better at the time. Like it was just part of my crazy story that I told and didn't think much of it.
And I think it's interesting too, and I'm glad they catch this because it's not just us. Like Keith is uncomfortable with it too. Like Chris turns to look at Keith to get his opinion. And he knows the cameras are on him. And he's like, well, I know her.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to say. He's super uncomfortable too. So I'm glad they at least caught that. So it's not just us.
But even Chris, who doesn't know her, is like, well, I get the feeling that she came in here feeling like she already had the job.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And we're like, yes,
I mean,
100%.
it wasn't job interview skills, like not to be mean, but I think we can all see that on TV. It's like, oh, if the money's right.
Yeah, who says that?
Yeah, and that's the kind of job you don't really know if the money's right until you get there. You don't know how people are going to tip at that establishment.
Yeah.
And then they edit it so it looks like I'm completely cutting her off and stepping over what she's saying and saying, cool, thanks for coming to our table. And I don't think that was real. I think that was them literally overlapping our voices and making it look like we're cutting her off.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say too, one of the first things she does say when she enters the scene is she asks Pat Lacey, is Hef around? So she is trying to bypass everything right off the bat.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
And there's a part of me that kind of thinks people should be able to, but I'm like including Crystal Camden in that,
Yeah.
I don't know. I keep going in circles with it. Like, should people try out like everybody else or not?
Yeah. And then there's another part too where it kind of really bothered me is that they have Kendra, like at the end when we're all kind of in agreement that like, I don't know, about that one. Then they have Kendra like act like Kendra says, well, not really knowing her, I think she would be good. Like,
Do you think she's even saying that about her though?
I don't know.
It was cut in from something else.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think, why didn't I think about that? But I didn't even think about that. I just assumed it was her because then in commentary, Kendra's very anti her. Kendra's like, no.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't remember it going down like that in real life. I don't remember her coming to Mandy's rescue.
But they put it in there like that. But the show is doing that again on purpose because it's going back to we're jealous and catty.
Yeah.
But Kendra is like, these are the homies.
Magnanimous.
Like it's all this is all good. She's not jealous of anybody. Blah blah blah. It's not true.
Yeah.
None of this is true. We're not jealous of her. We're literally trying to get the right people for the right job. And we're like, is this the right girl for this job? And Kendra isn't like, oh, she's great.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And then it cuts to us at the final judging table where everybody has to kind of like parade in front of Hef in a bikini and say a few words.
Mm-hmm. Hef and George Maloof.
Yeah. At the table are the three of us. And then there's Hef and George Maloof, the owner of the Palms, John Gray from the Palms, and Chris. And then I want to say Penelope Jimenez looks amazing in this episode.
Yeah.
She's in the green bunny costume.
Yeah.
I would not have the guts to get in a bikini in front of everyone these days.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, back then I wouldn't have cared, but.
So you don't want to host a pool party in Vegas this summer?
No. And it's funny because Jessica Burciaga was there and I would discover her later on MySpace for Playmate.
Oh, she was there?
Yeah.
Did you see her in the footage?
I saw her in the footage, but I don't remember like meeting her that day or anything. And then when I met her later through MySpace, she was like, oh, I'm a bunny at the Palms. But even then, like I didn't remember that she had come from that casting.
Oh, well, you know what? Just to clarify too, we were one of the tables. There was, like we said, there was 300 girls that came that day and there were multiple tables. So everybody didn't come through us.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
They only sent certain people that were okay with being on camera and stuff to us.
Okay.
I don't know if they gave Mandy, I don't know if they gave Mandy a choice because they wanted the drama.
Yeah.
But I think that most of the girls, it was like whoever had a free table, the girls would be sent to next. And so we didn't see everyone. We only got like a fraction of the people.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I wonder if that's who I'm talking about then, because I later say something about there was a dealer. We go to Vegas and I say that there was a dealer that I thought was really cute. I say this in commentary. And I say that I mentioned something to Hef about it, but he was just like, and like didn't want to hear it. But then I think later she does actually test for Playmate. And I wonder if it was Jessica.
I don't know, because there were several dealers that were really cute and that I thought should be Playmates, but some of them just had no interest in posing nude.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, good for them.
Yeah. And also it's like you might feel like attractive in like a bunny costume, but maybe wouldn't feel like me. I'd feel attractive in a one piece, but not a bikini.
Yeah.
That's what made it so hard, I feel, to find Playmates. Is you're not just looking for like a pretty face and a good body. Like somebody could make it as a model, but like not make it as a Playmate, because once they take their top off, like maybe their boobs are weird or something. It's like a whole extra set of criteria.
Yeah.
It was hard. There's no greater threat to your hot girl summer than summertime swamp ass. Such a buzzkill, right? Thankfully, MeUndies has me covered during the warmer months with lightweight, anti-odor, and quick-drying Breathe fabric. MeUndies has so many different styles of Breathe underwear, and they're all incredibly cool and comfortable. From high-waisted or hipster during that time of the month to cheeky brief or bikini for when I'm feeling myself, MeUndies has a cut for every butt this summer.
And they're so soft. They are the most comfortable underwear I own. I love them. And of course, I got cute patterns. One has candy, one has witches.
Perfect for you.
I know.
MeUndies has over 10 different styles ranging from cute little boy shorts to thongs and even to lace options that are actually comfortable. These cuts come in over 100 different colors and prints ranging from black to your zodiac sign. They use sustainably sourced materials and work with partners that care for their workers.
Not happy with your first pair of undies? It's on MeUndies.
Summer is coming. Get every cut for your butt from MeUndies. Get 20% off your first order plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/nextlevel. That's MeUndies.com/nextlevel for 20% off plus free shipping. MeUndies. Comfort from the outside in.
Well, they're lining up, and Penny tells Crystal, don't be nervous. They're nervous too. And Crystal says, no, they're not. I don't think anybody was nervous. Maybe George Maloof, because I feel like he's shy and timid, but I don't think anybody else was nervous.
That's so funny.
And Crystal knew it. Crystal's like, no, they're not.
That's so hilarious. So then we say that some girls we crossed out immediately made it to the final round. Did we mean Mandy? Because I'm trying to think who would make it to the final round that we would be like, no.
I mean, obviously we did cross her out and she still made it to the final round. So,
and this is the first clue that none of our judging is being listened to at all.
Yeah.
Like if we're already saying, oh, somebody we crossed out immediately made it to the final round, then we're just there for no reason.
Well, I know why we're there. And I don't know whether I'm mad about this or just whatever, I get it kind of thing. But the reason we're there, the reason we were even asked to judge this and be a part of it is because then that's reason for the show to film it. And the show filming it is going to put it on TV. And the TV show is going to promote the Playboy Club at the Palms. And so it's a win-win for everybody. So let's give them this fake job, which I was totally taking seriously because I thought we were legit judging here. And so we can get the promotion out of it.
Yeah.
And they can't do that with just Hef because there's just not enough there for it because he's only coming in at the very end.
Yeah.
But they can do it with us and act like we actually have a job out there doing this.
Totally.
And make us look bad for doing it.
Yeah.
And then still promote the club.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like a use situation.
I'm kind of glad looking back that I made a big thing about wanting to wear the bunny costume despite Hef wanting it, because what would they have done with all that time if I hadn't done that? I feel like they would have made it worse, like the whole judging and conflict and, you know?
Well, I think it very much brightened up the scene too. Like it made it more visual.
Yeah.
And you know what I was thinking too? This was a really weird episode because other than the old footage of you being on stage at the Palms, we are it's all, the whole entire episode is this bunny search. It never changes.
Oh, you're right. There's no
scenes.
There's no cold open. There's no side plot.
Yeah.
This is the only thing.
There's nothing else going on in it. And I think that's really weird for an episode. And it might be another reason why I don't like this episode. The main reasons are because I feel like it makes us look like we're judging and stuff, which we are, but I've explained it already. But the other reason is because I feel like it's just this stagnant one situation thing. Like we don't get a break from it and like see something else that's kind of funny or something else that takes our mind off of it for a second. And then, oh yeah, by the way, in the meantime, this is happening. Like we don't get those little breaks. And I feel like our show is so quick and does so many of those typically.
It's very ADD.
And now this episode, we don't have it. And we're just very much stuck on this contest.
Do you think that Kevin was experimenting with trying to show E, oh, maybe we could do like some kind of Playboy elimination show? Like, I don't think he had a specific idea that he wanted to do that, but elimination shows were so popular in the early 2000s. I feel like they definitely used that as influence for this episode. And I wonder if he was like kind of toe dipping a little. Like, I wonder what that would be like.
Low key making this kind of like a backdoor pilot a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it could look like if we did a bunny elimination show.
Yeah.
And they're going to constantly need new bunnies at the Palms. So maybe this is like part of a new show.
Yeah.
I could totally see him doing that.
Yeah. Like, I don't necessarily think he had some huge plan for it, but I think as they were in the process, it's kind of like, oh, let's kind of lean into this and see where it could go.
I could totally see that. And only too because I feel like they used other situations to make backdoor pilots for people. Ones that you've pointed out that I didn't even know about, but other ones that I do know about.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
Man cow.
yeah, I feel like they absolutely used us in our show to like try and create other shows out of it.
We should create a tally throughout this podcast for how many backdoor pilots there are in this series. Is Man cow the only one so far?
Could be. Well, and then
More
this
to
one.
come. Yeah.
Just two. Wait, is there anything about the bunny house yet?
No, he doesn't do the bunny house pilot until like the Holly's World era. Like we were long gone.
No, but I'm just wondering if maybe he's trying to get that going a little bit at all in this time frame.
I don't think it ever occurred to him, honestly. And I don't know why it would, because it was always like, you know how I feel about the bunny house scenes that I was always trying to make happen.
Yeah.
They're just so dead in the water.
We feel like that, and we definitely feel like that now, but I don't know that he would have felt like that. Obviously, he didn't feel that way at all because he does try and do a pilot over there.
And I didn't at the time either, even though I watched those episodes back now and I'm like, oh my God, this is stale. Why am I trying this so hard? Clearly, I thought it had merit because I kept fucking trying it.
Yeah. I know we've talked about this once before, but that house is very, very, it's not there anymore, but very, very strange because it was so poppy. It was literally decorated for a TV show. So to look good on camera, to be poppy, girly, like blah, blah, blah. But that energy, that house lacked so much energy.
Yeah. It was like a energy vampire now that I think about it.
It really was. And I don't know why that would be.
It was a vortex.
And we don't know any of the history of that house, right? Like who
No.
lived there before, like fitting trauma or anything happened there before. I didn't get that vibe. Like I didn't get the vibe that it was haunted or anything like that, but there was definitely
Just very stale.
energy.
Yeah. It was really weird.
And I always just wrote it off as it's because no one lives there and it's closed up all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess people did live there eventually, but usually for the most part of the time we were there was nobody living there. It was just sort of closed up, stale house. You go over there and be hot as hell.
I know. Really
Anyway.
strange. So when Mandy comes up and Hef says he doesn't have to ask where she's from, and then it sounds like she says Playboy Mansion, and they show her, but isn't that a fake line? Because it doesn't look like she's really saying it. Like I suspect this might be one of those voiceovers that they like asked an editor to go Playboy Mansion.
Oh, really?
I mean, I don't remember what she said, but I feel like, would she have even said that? Does that even seem like it just seemed weird to me. I don't know. Maybe she did say it, but it just seemed like a really weird cut.
Oh, interesting. Well, I just assumed she did say it. I didn't notice anything weird about it. I felt like she was kind of like going, yeah, you don't have to ask that. And then she just went, okay, well, the smart aleck answer is I'm from the Playboy Mansion. Like I felt like that was sort of the attitude and the way I took it. And I thought she did say it, but it's possible. It's possible she didn't. And this is one of those
seemed
things.
really weird to me. And then Hef leans over to George and they make it look like he's doing this while Mandy's there. But I remember him doing it after she turned around and walked away. He goes, you know, she's a Playboy celebrity. And then I turn to you and I make like a gagging face. And I feel bad because they leave that cut in there like I'm doing it in front of Mandy. And I think people probably assume I'm doing it because of her. But I'm doing it because Hef would always do that thing that would make me feel like, you know, you're lucky to be here. But you know who was really spectacular?
Yes.
Every other girl I've dated. That was just kind of like the overarching feel, the way he would like always go out of his way to make such a big deal of his exes and like brush everybody else to the side. And this was another thing. And I remember thinking, dude, this is getting old. Because, okay, she's been on a Playboy cover. And don't get me wrong, if I was in charge of the Playboy Club, I would want people to feel like they were walking into the pages of Playboy magazine. So if somebody who had a Playboy cover wanted to work as a bunny, that would give them an advantage. Maybe they wouldn't be the right person, but definite advantage. Because I would love for people to walk in and actually see playmates or people who'd been on the cover in the magazine. But like his current girlfriends are sitting there who are actually on a mainstream TV show that people watch, but I don't ever
have
feel
2 covers now.
Yeah, but I don't ever feel like he ever acknowledged that we were quote unquote Playboy celebrities, or certainly didn't want us to feel like we were.
Yes, I agree.
But an ex-girlfriend from like 5 or 6 years ago who was on a cover, that's a Playboy celebrity.
Right.
So watch out.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like dog her, like take
No.
anything away from her. It's just he always had a way of making us feel that way. Like the ex-girlfriends were golden and we're just like these scrubs that are lucky to be there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, they definitely make it look like you're making that face about her and in front of her, but it really was. It's just because Hef is always doing that to
Mhm.
you and to us. Well, that's a Playboy celebrity. Like she's part of
Yeah.
this. To George, when we literally have that she had one cover and a pictorial. We had 2 covers and a pictorial at this time and have a TV show.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know he's not saying, and you guys aren't, but that's kind of the gist it felt like.
It was always the vibe and the tone when he would
Mhm.
do stuff like that, I felt.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's easy for the show to make it look like, oh, Holly's just like scoffing at the fact that, you know.
Yeah, no other girl can have anything while Holly's around.
Yeah.
And it's not about her. It's about the way he would always handle those situations, I
Yeah.
felt, and try to make us feel less than.
Yeah.
And then we hear one of us say, "Where's the bikini?" And they make it sound like we're saying that while Mandy's there, which we weren't.
We weren't saying it in front of her.
We say things behind people's backs. Just kidding.
But I mean, it really was unfair. Like if the rules are you have to wear a bikini, then you have to wear a bikini. And I don't even know if it was a bikini or just a swimsuit.
Mhm.
But either way, like
Yeah. Like I might have my thoughts off camera, like, why does it have to be a bikini? You don't even see the stomach in the bunny costume, but that's what the criteria was. And, you know, spoiler alert, we'll get to the end of this episode and she ends up getting it over other people and she didn't even follow the rules.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, what was even the point of that rule?
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. I cannot believe we are halfway through the year already. It has gone by so quickly. This time of year, I always like to look at my list that I made during the new year and I see all the things that I've done that I'm so proud of that I've like checked off for 2024. And then also like what I'm still super excited about accomplishing for this year. It keeps me motivated and excited for what's to come. I've said this before, but it's so important to take a moment and celebrate all the wins. It's like those little celebrations you have for yourself. It just keeps you motivated and focused. It's also a good time to reflect. If you're not making all the goals that you were hoping to, you can make adjustments for the rest of the year, and therapy can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next 6 months.
I agree with all of that. And for me, therapy's been a mainstay in my life. And I've definitely used therapy to help me make career-based decisions or help me regain perspective on something I might be having trouble with and really help appreciate those wins.
If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Take a moment. Visit betterhelp.com/nextlevel today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/nextlevel.
And then the next woman who comes up is really cute because she does the bunny dip in front of like Hef and George. And I thought that was cute.
And she's funny though, because she's like, oh, I broke my back or something like that. Like she's funny. And that's what I mean. Like I'm looking for personality like that. And even the other girl, Angela, I think it is.
Yeah.
Like she's so funny.
Angela was so cute and funny. And I ended up making friends with her. And like when we would go out to shoot, like the Playboy Club bunnies for the magazine, she would like hang out for the shoot and stuff. And a strange thing happened with her because everybody loved her on the show so much and thought she was so funny and so cute and everything. Kevin, after I started working at the studio, said, you know what? Hef told me that he wants to make Angela a playmate. So try to shoot her, blah, blah, blah. So when I like met up with her in Vegas and stuff, I was like, oh, would you ever pose for the magazine? And she didn't want to. And I'm not about trying to like convince people to like do stuff they don't want to do. But I was like, oh, well, you know, you should like come do our shoot when we're shooting the bunnies so you can see what it's like. And, you know, I really like posing and blah, blah, blah. And she didn't end up deciding to want to do it. But then later on, I mentioned something to Hef about it. Like, oh, you know, that girl, Angela, that Kevin said you wanted to make a playmate. And he goes, I never said that. And I'm not saying she wouldn't have got it if she tried out. I'm just saying I would have felt so fucking dumb if I would have like convinced somebody to take this big leap and pose nude and it wasn't even like a sure thing.
Right.
Because that's the only reason I was even like talking to her about it is I don't like being pushy about that kind of stuff or anything. But Kevin had made it clear. And I hadn't even thought to say anything to Hef about it on my own because I just thought, you know, why would he lie about that? And I don't know that he lied about it. Maybe Hef said something and Kevin got the wrong idea. I don't know. Game of telephone. But he's like, oh, Hef really wants Angela to be a playmate. He's going to make her a playmate. Everybody loves her personality so much. So I'm like, oh my God, that was kind of like a bullet dodged. I would have felt dumb if like she posed for a test and then didn't work out.
Yeah, especially since it seems like it was out of her comfort zone.
Totally.
And then she's like, all right, I'm going to get it. Holly says I'm going to get it. So I'm going to do it. And then what?
I know. Oh. So I was like, whew.
And you know, they would have tried to film that too for the show.
show. So that was a whole saga.
Phew, thank God. Thank God.
And then a girl who's trying out comes up and she starts crying. She's telling her story about how she flew all the way out here because she wanted to give this a shot. And it makes me emotional still just watching this.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those things where Playboy at that time, it's hard to like tell people now, and I know we've tried to talk about it before, but Playboy at that time was a big deal.
Yeah, it really felt like getting your foot in the door might just change your life.
Yeah. Yeah, and you would do things like that. Like I can see
Fly
doing
across
that.
the country.
Like if I saw there was an opportunity like that, I would have done it.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I just had to go to San Francisco. But if I had to go all the way to LA or all the way to New York, I would have tried to do it.
Yeah.
It would be my first opportunity on how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I totally get it.
And then it cuts to me in confessional and I say, but Tears worked with Hef. So I think that put her in a good light.
They really do.
And that's true. That's something where like if you wanted to be manipulative back, he would just kind of like, he didn't really know what to do with it when people were crying.
Yeah.
Like I remember some of the girls who were trying to move in back in the early days, like would ask several times. And when he would say no several times, they'd like start crying. And then he'd finally go, oh, okay, well, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. And then they said they're going to narrow it down to 20 girls.
And we talk about how nerve wracking it is for the girls, or must be for the girls, to have to wait around and hear who got it. And I'm kind of horrified that they had to like capture this on camera. Like I know that was like the name of the reality show game back then, is to do these kind of elimination things, but it's kind of embarrassing to be on TV and like, oh, you got it and you didn't.
Yeah, I can see that. But I just feel like not only was it the time period, and that was kind of like what was going on, but I just feel like it's sort of the way LA is, or pageants are, or the whole auditioning process.
Yeah, it's definitely par for the course. I think I feel more sentimental about it because some of it involved people we knew and loved and maybe should have had a little bit of a foot in the door and advantage and didn't end up getting it. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like that. So do you think they would have done it this way without the show? Do you think they would have told the girls in person, oh, wait around for an hour while we decide and then we're going to come back and say who got it? Or do you think they just would have called the girls they wanted to hire?
No, I think they would have made them wait around.
Really?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know for sure. I mean, who knows? But I think that they would have had them wait around. I think they would have given them like maybe a little bit of an orientation or some booklets or paperwork or information to take home with them to fill out, to bring back. And I think they would have started the process.
Interesting.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah.
But
because my immediate thought was, oh no, they just would have like had everybody try out and then like called the ones they wanted. But who knows?
possibly,
You never know.
Yeah. I think they were trying to get things all done in one day here, though.
Yeah. So question,
Yes.
do you think it's over the top when we say that being a bunny is a great honor?
Well, I think it is now, but back then, no.
Like I see what we're saying, but like as an audience member, like, because I try to watch these and like pretend I'm an ordinary audience member who doesn't know anything. And maybe I've stumbled across, this is the first episode I've ever seen of this. I might be like, is it really a great honor to be like a glorified blackjack dealer?
Well, I definitely didn't think that it was as big of an honor to work at the Playboy Club as I thought it would be to be a playmate working as a bunny
Yeah.
for promotions. I definitely thought that was a higher standard in my mind. But yeah, you know what? I guess if we're just talking about the dealers and the cocktail, like actually at the clubs,
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't think it's as great of an honor. No.
Yeah, and I'm not putting it down in any way. Like, I think it's a really cool job, and like,
I'm not
probably,
putting
like,
it down. I
No,
would have
know you're
done
not.
it.
Yeah,
I would have
we're
done
not
it.
putting it down. but it sounds like so hyperbolic to be like, it's a great honor.
I think it's a great honor to get to wear the bunny costume.
Yeah, because it's rare.
I want to say the real ones, not the
Mhm.
club bunny ones, because it also means you're a playmate then.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's like we said before, it's iconic
Yeah.
and it's so cool, and that to me is an honor. The club bunny thing, they're going to need a lot of girls for that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And I feel like it's still cool, but it's no cooler than any other. I thought a lot of the casino costumes were cute, or uniforms that they had to wear, but they're like costumey. Like, I used to think a lot of them were cute, and I would think it would be fun to wear
Oh no, I think they're cute too. Yeah.
them in general. So, this one, it just happens to be the bunny costume
Mhm.
ones, but I used to love the Caesar Palace ones
Yeah.
and like other ones.
Have you seen
know?
the vintage Caesar's Palace ones?
Those are, wait, how vintage?
Like the 60s when it
Oh.
first opened.
I was going to say, those are probably the ones I'm talking about, but no.
They were so cute. They were like super short, like almost cheerleader style, like Roman Caesar skirts with like an asymmetrical top. And they had kind of the ones for Circus when it first opened were kind of cornier because they had like this weird like marching band hat, but they had like a cute circusy one. They were just really cute.
I love all that shit.
I remember on Twitter, like years ago, I did some post where I like posted like the images of like the vintage cocktail waitress outfits. And I go, why can't we bring these back? These are so cute. And you know how you get like hater comments for like everything you write,
Yeah.
even if it's just something so.
People are like, these are sexist and terrible.
No, totally. They're like, it's equality, Hall. It's equality. Like, you can't have a cute outfit because equality. Oh, dear.
Well, if I want to wear that, can we bring them back?
Totally.
You guys know how much we love our outfits. And whether it's good or bad on any given day, it can impact your entire day and how you feel. Stiff fabrics and strange cuts that sit uncomfortably, when in reality, you need to feel your most authentic self to perform. It's so important to have really good fitting, high quality, comfortable workout athletic wear. I know all of us have closets filled with things that don't fit right, are fussy to put on, or uncomfortable, and you just don't want to wear them, but then you don't want to give them up either. Rhone has stepped up to the challenge. The new Rhone Women's Course to Court collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and truly versatile set of dynamic activewear on the market. It's catered to tennis, pickleball, and golf enthusiasts, and I just love that whole look anyway. The Course to Court collection is designed to keep you focused on your next best move with premium dresses, quarter zips, polos, skirts, and more.
I'm in love with the items I have from Rhone. I have the cutest tennis dresses, the cutest skirts. I have this really soft button-up, collared, sleeveless shirt that looks amazing under the cutest sweaters. I was wearing it all weekend. I was taking my kids to Disneyland and all these places, and it was the perfect thing to wear.
The Course to Court collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to rhone.com/nextlevel and use promo code NEXTLEVEL to save 20% off your entire order. That's RHONE.com/nextlevel. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/nextlevel and use code NEXTLEVEL. Rhone, for every day, for every you, forever forward.
Oh, you know what else I can't not think of and get an image of my head when I think about women working at the Playboy Club? So there would come a time when I was starting to date this guy in Vegas who was such a bad idea that two friends of mine literally staged an intervention.
Yeah.
So two guy friends in Vegas took me to the Artisan Hotel back when it was the Artisan during the day. Oh, we're going to show you this cool hotel. So they get me in this quiet lobby. We're in this corner and they're like, hey, we brought you here for a reason. This guy you're seeing, don't date him. Did I listen? No. But anyway, they were telling me that he's like so bad. And they're like, he's a bad vibe everywhere he goes in Vegas. And he's rinsed through all the girls at the Playboy Club. And I'm not trying to say all the girls at the Playboy Club had a thing with this guy. I'm sure most people probably didn't. But somebody somewhere got the exaggerated idea that he had like rinsed through all the girls at the Playboy Club. Ugh.
Yuck.
Watch out for creepers, ladies.
Yeah. You had you had kind of like a bad, what do I call it? Like a
Dating history?
Yeah, but I was going to call it something else. But yeah, basically. Yeah, like it went like that ick.
I'm not going to argue with that, but I do feel like my relationship right after the mansion directly mirrored a lot of the same issues as my Hef relationship. But it was kind of a gift because it showed me that like ordinary guys can treat women like this too. So you just need to like not date people like that.
Yeah.
Whereas for Hef, for years and years, even after, like I was still making excuses for him because he's this big, famous, iconic, rich person. So,
Yeah.
oh, of course he's not going to be like everybody else.
Right.
But then I realized, no, that's something some guys do.
Yeah.
Blech.
Oh, well, so they announced the winners and it says Amy, Angela, Jessica,
Oh, so she got it.
Amanda, and then they say Amanda Bentley.
Uh-huh.
And then they say, congratulations, Amanda. But we say that she did not stick around. So she wasn't
interesting.
there when they called her name.
Oh, weird. And they show Hef going over to take a picture with all the girls. And I feel like, did they have a voice overlay in this? Because he walks up to the girls and he goes, "Hi, honey." But I feel like he didn't say "hi, honey" to multiple women. I feel like if he would have walked up to the girls and said something, he would have, "Hi, girls."
Yeah.
He said "hi, honey," like when he was talking to one person. Do you think that's like a voice overlay they did? Him walking up to the group of girls and being like, "Hi, honey." Does that seem weird to you? Like, would Hef say that?
Yeah, unless he was like directly looking at one person or
Yeah.
something like that he was going to stand next
Or
to.
maybe the heat of the day had got to him.
Maybe. And it shows Crystal looking so disappointed.
I know, I hate it.
I mean, it's really, really sad.
Yeah. And then the show kind of does this pivot where at the last minute, they're giving Kendra all these sympathetic lines in her confessional,
Yeah.
which are like,
And in the scene, she walks
Yeah.
over to Hef and she's like, I'm really nervous for these girls. Like, I feel bad, blah, blah, blah. And it's not that she didn't feel that way. And I'm not saying that she didn't or
Uh-huh.
that she didn't say those things, but we all knew and we all felt the same way, but they only show Kendra being sympathetic.
and I feel like in the beginning of the episode, except for that one line you mentioned, we're all kind of seem like we're on the same page. But at the end, they kind of twist it. So they kind of like tear us in our three different directions.
Yeah. So then we all group together, take the big
Mhm.
group picture, which I have, and I'll post on the Patreon.
And then they play really sappy music showing Crystal going up to your room. And am I crazy for thinking that Crystal should have got it?
I think she should have gotten it too. And we obviously also, this is showing how our vote didn't matter at all because
Yeah, we all voted for her.
100% like
Mhm.
exclamation points, like this girl needs to get it and didn't get it. And 100% we were like, that other girl can't get it and did. So they did not care about anything we said.
It's confusing. And it's confusing to me too, because sometimes Hef would do these really generous things for like exes and like playmates and friends of his. I mean, there were women working in the office that he dated in the 50s, you know, not everybody, but like Joyce and stuff.
Mhm.
So sometimes he would do that. And it seems weird he wouldn't kind of throw Crystal a bone. It's odd. Or do you think the show didn't want her to get it on purpose? So there was that drama. But I doubt that too. Because remember, he didn't even want me interning at the studio because he didn't want to tell me no on camera.
Well, I don't even know why the show would care one way or another, whether Crystal got it or not. Like, I feel like it would be positive for the show
It
for
would
Crystal
be,
to get it.
unless they were being devious and just trying to create stakes. Like, we're going to have Mandy come on and be standoffish and she's going to get it. And then this girl that they really love isn't going to get it. But I don't even feel like that really seems like Kevin's style too much.
No.
I feel like Kevin's style is if he saw somebody being standoffish and not wearing the bikini, he would want to make her not get it and look really bad. And then let's give it to Crystal. I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a mystery to me.
It is a mystery.
So they play this really sappy music. Crystal comes up to your room and we get another Sprinkles cupcake mention.
Well, you know why?
Why?
Because
It's the same day.
yeah, it's your anniversary. So I'm literally going to go get the Sprinkles cupcakes for your anniversary.
I already forgot this was the same day as the anniversary. And I thought, oh, it is the second mention in the show, but I thought this was a whole other time. And then it shows you guys driving away and they have a random voiceover of you just going, Sprinkles cupcake.
I mean, I think it's cute. It makes it look like we're going to go get her a little treat because she's
Mhm.
down. And I think that's cute. And of course, Sprinkles cupcakes, yum, what better treat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the reason we're going to go and get it is because it's your anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
And we're about to shoot a whole other scene.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Basically a whole other episode that night.
Yeah, we were just fitting it in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else to say about the episode before best and worst?
Crystal hands me a note, and do you see that in there?
I don't think I noticed it. No.
Oh, she hands me like a note, and I'm curious what the note said.
Did you ask her?
No, but
I mean, I'd be surprised if she remembers, but
I keep all that stuff. So it's probably in my scrapbooks, but I didn't look for it until, but I was like, I wonder what that note said. I think she was just thanking us for being supportive of her and stuff.
Sweet. You know what my favorite Crystal Camden moment is on the show? And I don't know what episode it's in, but there's some episode where she walks into your room and she's wearing a hoodie and she has one of those big Playboy bunny pillows over her head. And she literally looks like a walking Playboy logo. And it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Well, and I try and cheer her up and I tell her, you know, like, you got to the final, like 20 girls out of 300.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know, I know it's still not getting it, but I feel like you have to look at the bright side on things like that. I know anytime I went on an audition or did a pageant or whatever, I'm like, well, it started with like this many girls and I made it this far. Like the Elvira show and stuff, like it started with however many girls, but however many people went to that first audition and then how many people actually made it to the show. And then I know I made it to like, I think the top 4. Yeah. So I'm like, that's good. You got to like find the silver lining in things.
Yeah. So best and worst of the episode.
My worst is, we've already talked about it, but basically pitting women against women.
Yeah.
Editing Kendra to be the only sympathetic one to the other women. And then making us judge other girls and then judging us for judging them.
Yeah.
And making it seem like we're jealous of an ex. And that wasn't the whole story. Like, if you're going to make it play that way, you have to show why we would feel that way and why it's not that way with the other girls.
I think they kind of did show why. I mean, maybe they didn't mean to.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess they do kind of show why. But I still, watching it back all this time, I still feel like we're being catty, and that's not how it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with all that stuff. I think my worst, if I just had to pick one thing, is Crystal not getting it. What about best? Do you even have anything you like of this? It's got to be something.
I know. Well, I think my best is just seeing the mansion thriving with all those women there. Like, I feel like when people think about what the Playboy Mansion looked like on a daily basis, that would have been it. Like,
it reminds me of that pool party photo I posted on the Instagram maybe like a month or so ago.
Yeah, just like tons and tons of girls everywhere in the pool, eating,
bunnies walking
drinking.
around.
Yeah, bunnies in full costume walking around, playing volleyball, on the trampoline, hula hooping. Like, just all of this going on all the time, 24/7 at the mansion. Like, I feel like that's what you think of when you think of the Playboy Mansion. And as we know, that's not exactly how it was.
Yeah.
But I feel like this kind of embodied what it should look like. And then I think the excitement of all these women wanting to be a part of Playboy in that way, I think that I liked seeing that. Especially then, like, I thought that was really cool. And I felt that way. So it kind of reinforced like how I was feeling too. Like, this is a cool thing to be a part of. And a lot of women want to be a part of it. And then the other thing too for me was kind of being on the casting side of things. It's eye-opening.
I love being in casting, which working at the studio I was. And I say this all the time. I feel like anybody getting into the entertainment industry who's auditioning for anything, in a perfect world, they should have to like intern in casting before they do that. Because then you just learn that stuff isn't that personal.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the best example to say stuff isn't that personal, because there's weird rigged and something's not, and
yeah.
But I don't know if this is the best example, but
no.
in reality, it's usually not that personal.
But even so, I think that like just hearing what human resources was looking for, even though they kind of show you guys that we're looking for certain things, but they didn't tell you all of the stuff that we actually had to look for and the criteria and everything. I just think seeing all that and seeing how they are viewing it and what they're looking for, and then what the girls bring and stuff, I think it's just really eye-opening. So I do have positives out of it.
Yeah. My best is my bunny costume, because I really like the visual of the hot pink bunny costume. And I even like my white outfit that I'm wearing at the dinner table. So I like my outfits. And I just like how when it comes to the part of the show that was like the bunny costume and Hef not wanting me to wear it, but me thinking it's fun and funny to wear it, I feel like me and the show were like in tune, and I finally got an edit that I kind of liked.
Yeah.
And that's like the first time I've seen that in almost two whole seasons of the show.
Yeah.
So that is the bunny hunt. I'm not sure what we'll have next week, if we'll have an interview, but if we do another episode, the next episode is
We can work it out.
We can work it out, which is a highly anticipated episode about when we make our workout video.
Yeah.
I'm eager to get into that one.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot in that. A lot.
A lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So if you guys would like more content, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/girlsnextlevel, and we will see you guys next week.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget to check out our merch store.
Yeah, it's girlsnextlevel.shop. So we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.